Chapter 874. Would the little fiend still survive this time? After the Wu Yun threw the bolt of lightning at the loud-mouthed girl, it was very pleased with itself. This time it would at least strike this scourge half to death. As long as the leader died, those people and beasts would be easily mopped up. Just as it felt pleased with itself, it saw the loud-mouthed girl holding her head high and running around while shouting, "It's too scary. I have to find a place to hide. Your stupid lightning will not be able to catch up to me." "Can't catch up to you? You little scoundrel, it'll kill you." The Wu Yun followed closely, chasing and throwing bolts of lightning along the way. The crowd and the beasts had never seen such a scene before in their whole lives. Oh my god! That Wu Yun had struck her more than 100 lightning times, right? But that little fiend was still alive and kicking. This was too abnormal, right? At that moment, the Wu Yun's heart was on the verge of collapse. It had originally thought that this little weakling could be killed with just a few bolts of lightning, but it did not expect that after striking her so many times, it still did not die. The most detestable thing was that it unknowingly fell for this girl's trap. It was being lured further and further away by her, and the spiritual energy it consumed was increasing. It was unable to do anything even if it wanted to strike those other humans and beasts. It was truly detestable. Since that was the case, I will fight it out with you. I will definitely strike you to death. Rumble. 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 A Wu Yun that was even thicker than before began throwing larger bolts of lightning towards Yun Chujio. The people in the distance trembled in fear. Oh my god, this lightning cloud was much larger than the one before. Could the little fiend withstand it? Everyone prayed in their hearts. Oh god. Please bless the little fiend with the ability to withstand those heavenly lightning strikes. If she were to be finished, they would also be finished. The Wu Yun would get rid of them easily compared to the little fiend. Just as everyone was on tenterhooks, they heard Yun Chujio say in a trembling voice, "Damn it. My body is numb from the lightning. This time it's bad. I can't move, I'm going to be vulnerable to repeated lightning strikes." Everyone's heart tightened. Little fiend, are you stupid? How can you say such things out loud? Aren't this letting the lightning know your weaknesses? This time, the Wu Yun will work even harder to strike you. Are you intentionally digging your own grave? The Wu Yun thought so too. Ha ha ha, you little troublemaker. Finally can't take any more of this, can you? I just need to keep working hard and he'll definitely be able to strike you to death. As for those people, they're extremely stupid. I'll take my time with them once I'm done with you. The more the Wu Yun thought about it, the more excited it became. One after another, thicker and sturdier bolts of lightning struck Yun Chujio continuously. Yun Chujio kept wailing like a ghost. One moment she said her arm was going to break, another moment she said her leg was going to break, and another moment she said her internal organs were going to be shattered. Every time the Wu Yun wanted to give up, it was reinvigorated by Yun Chujio's words. As long as it kept going for a while more, this little girl would die. Unknowingly, the Wu Yun was kept going for a full 6 hours. Gradually, the lightning bolts were no longer as dense as before. It was obvious that it had started to run out of spiritual power. The Wu Yun finally regained its senses. Fuck. It was tricked again. The little devil who was shouting that she was going to die was too lively, while apparently being on the verge of death. When had she ever looked like she was going to die? This wretched girl was too cunning. Curses. It was thoroughly tricked. Hey, little weakling, are you afraid of me? Why did you stop attacking? Yun Chujio placed one hand on her waist and pointed at the cloud with the other. Even though the Wu Yun knew that it had fallen into Yun Chujio's trap, it couldn't back down now. It thought to itself that since it was already in this situation, it would go all out. Several more Wu Yun gathered to form a larger cloud that was as thick as an elephant's arm. It then threw a much larger bolt of lightning at Yun Chujio. The group of beasts were so scared that they closed their eyes. Would the little fiend still survive this time? Chapter 875. Made a small fortune after a huge explosion. A huge pit that was dozens of feet deep was left on the ground. Black smoke rose from the pit, and it was silent inside. Everyone's heart sank. Could it be that the little fiend had been killed by that last lightning bolt? The enlarged Wu Yun felt smug. Ha ha ha, the little fiend had finally been killed by it. Although it did not have much spiritual power left, it was still worth it. It had finally vented its anger. Just as the Wu Yun was feeling pleased with itself, it heard a laugh that sounded like a silver bell coming from the pit. Little weakling, I have to thank you. I managed to dig up some 100th-century purple tuber down here. This is something worth celebrating. What a huge root. It's worth at least hundreds of millions of spirit stones. The Wu Yun was so angry that it almost fainted. However, it did not have enough energy left in its heart. The last strike just now had already used up most of its remaining spiritual power, so it could only sigh and float away. Yun Chujo curled her lips in the pit. Although this Wu Yun was a little more shrewd than the one in the ancient sword tomb, it still could not compare to her intelligence. Mission complete. Feng Ming and the Yun siblings saw the Wu Yun float away and quickly ran to the edge of the pit. Junior sister little Jiao, are you alright? I'm fine. I've made a small fortune. Quickly pull me up. It's forbidden to fly here, or else I would have flown up long ago. Yun Chujia's giggling voice came from the bottom of the pit. A moment later, Yun Chujio was dragged up to ground level. She had just made a small fortune and was in a very good mood. Although she was not short of money now, this kind of unexpected joy was refreshing. After she returned to the crowd, Yun Chujio took out the 100th-century purple tuber from her storage ring and showed it off. The crowd saw that the 100th-century purple tuber was already faintly showing a red color. With one look, one could tell that it was really old. Were it not for the lightning strike, it was hard to say if it would become a spirit in time. Everyone's faces were filled with envy and they all fawned over her. Fairy Yun is really a blessed person. She was repeatedly struck by lightning, and yet she was able to find treasure. Such luck makes people envious. Yeah, a genius is a genius. Even her luck is better than us ordinary people. Fairy Yun is really powerful. After being struck by such a thick heavenly lightning, she was unharmed. She's too powerful. Sigh. God is unfair. It is one thing for Fairy Yun to be devastatingly beautiful and powerful, but she is so lucky. It is unfair to the rest of us. Although Yun Chujio knew that these people were just flattering her, she was still very happy in her heart. The words devastatingly beautiful especially pleased her. It was the truth. Yun Chujio deliberately did not stop them. After letting those people flatter her for an entire hour, she then said hypocritically, "Everyone, you're flattering me. I just got a little lucky. Let's continue to attack the barrier. After the Wu Yun spent so much spiritual energy on me, this barrier must have become much weaker. As long as we work together, in less than 2 hours, the barrier will definitely be broken." Everyone cheered and attacked in the specified order again. Sure enough, in less than 2 hours, a crack appeared in the enchantment. They could vaguely see the scenery outside. Everyone became excited and attacked with greater vigor. Finally, the crack grew bigger and bigger. Some people and beasts wanted to escape first. Yun Chujio said coldly from behind, "Go out according to the order. If anyone tries to cut in line, I will let them have a taste of my lightning when I get out." Those humans and beasts backed down and obediently retreated according to the order of the attack. Yun Chujio stayed behind because she was confident that even if the crack closed, she could open it again with the help of the spirit tools in her bag. Chapter 876. The sorrowful Shui Wuji. Those people and beasts did not know that Yun Chujio had a trump card. When they saw that Yun Chujio had selflessly stayed behind, they were extremely touched. Even those initially snobbish ones felt a sense of sorrow. Although this Yun Chujio was an eccentric person, she had a good heart. When it was Yun Chujio's turn to exit the barrier, a tsunami of cheers and roars greeted her. At that moment, Yun Chujio understood why some people wanted to be heroes. It turned out that the feeling of being worshipped and appreciated by others was a kind of sensation that came from the bottom of one's heart. It was different from the satisfaction of being rich. It was a kind of spiritual satisfaction. She could not help but laugh at herself. Did she sublimate herself? Yun Chujio waved her hands. "Everyone, since we have managed to escape, please go on ahead. Little Bun, do you want to find a place to wait or come with me? After I save the people from the East Valley, I will find you a suitable place for you to live." The demonic beasts hesitated for a while, and a small group of them decided to leave on their own. After all, the East Valley was not like the West Valley. Perhaps this little girl would not be able to get out from there. Moreover, there was already somewhere appealing in front of them. It would be a good place to make a new home. After most of the demonic beasts had seen Yoon Chujia's power, they felt that the rune spirit of the East Valley would definitely not be able to defeat this little devil. Moreover, the situation was still uncertain, so it was better to let her help them choose a good place to settle down. These demonic beasts now had a lot of confidence in Yoon Chujio. Among them, the Leopard King was the most obvious in his admiration of her. It was extremely flattering, wagging its big tail like a little kitten. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. All of you get out of the way. Little sister Little Joe, I've been worried sick about you. I haven't been eating or drinking these few days and I've lost weight. If you don't come out now, I'm going to starve to death. Shue Wuji squeezed in from the crowd of people and beasts. Yoon Chujio looked at Shue Wuji, whose face was glowing red, and pursed her lips. Come on, you have to have some credibility when you're lying. Seeing that the jig was up, Shue Wuji laughed dryly. Little sister Joe, I accidentally mixed up my words. I was too worried about you, so I turned my grief and anger into an appetite. I ate too much and got fatter. Yoon Chujio smiled. Brother Wuji, I'm sorry I made you worry. Ill rest for the night. Tomorrow morning, we'll enter the East Valley. Shue Wuji was dazed by Yoon Chujio's bright smile. He felt that little sister Jo was too beautiful. When he came back to his senses, he found that Yoon Chujio had already grabbed Di Biming's arm and was skipping in the other direction. The bitterness in his heart was even stronger than drinking 100 jars of old vinegar. Why couldn't little sister Jo see his good side? Why did she have to like that cold and rigid face when he was clearly 100 times better looking than Di Biming? Shue Wuji sat to its side dejectedly and felt that his entire being was on the verge of collapse. When many female disciples saw this scene, their little hearts pounded. This Yoon Chuling was simply too handsome, especially his melancholic appearance. It was too tempting. When Shue Wuji regained his senses, he saw a few female disciples looking at him infatuatedly. When they saw Shue Wuji looking at them, they could not help but blush, looking extremely bashful. When Shue Wuji saw this, his confidence returned once again. It seemed that this young master's charm was undeniable. Little Jo must have been bewitched by Di Biming. After a long time, she would naturally see how appealing he was. Yes, he should not be discouraged. Little Jo must be his. After all, he was the most suitable person for her. Chapter 877. A Sea of Flowers. Shue Wuji was revitalized. After giving the girls a wicked smile, he eagerly went to look for Yoon Chujio. The girls were instantly mesmerized by Shue Wuji's smile. They felt as if their little hearts were about to jump out of their chests. They looked at Shue Wuji's back with infatuation, almost turning into statues that famously awaited their husband's return from sea. Yoon Chujio was telling Di Biming about what happened in the West Valley. She was beamed with joy throughout the retelling. In front of Di Biming, she would unconsciously become an innocent and romantic little girl. Although her brain would occasionally stop working, this kind of full-hearted trust, the feeling of having someone to rely on, softened people's hearts. When Shue Wuji saw the invisible pink bubble between the two of them, half of his confidence dissipated. Whoa, his heart was about to break. Why did he feel like an outsider and the two of them were like a match made in heaven? Secret Agent Hua Hua looked at her young master's stupid look and could not bear to keep looking at him. She knew that it was unbearable, but she still bravely went forward like a moth to a flame. Sigh. She did not expect that the young master was also a sucker for love. It was unexpected. Shue Wuji's attention gradually shifted to Yoon Chujio's story. The bitterness in his heart slowly turned into admiration. Little sister Jo was amazing. She managed to save these people and beasts all by herself. The next morning, Yoon Chujio adjusted her spiritual power to the first level of the Spirit Emperor realm. Then she walked into the enchantment of the East Valley with Di Biming and the others. As soon as the five of them landed on the ground, they found themselves amidst a huge sea of flowers. There were all kinds of flowers in an assortment of colors. Spirit butterflies and spirit bees were shuttling between the flowers. It was a beautiful scene. If an ordinary girl saw such a scene, she would marvel at the beauty. However, the first thing Yoon Chujio said was, there are spirit bees. There must be a beehive nearby. The quality of the honey here must be very good. It must be fragrant and sweet. The corners of Biming and the other three's eyes twitched. This girl never changes. Little sister Jiao, if we follow these spirit bees, we will find the beehive. When the time comes, I will help you get some honey to eat. Shui Wuji immediately came over to flatter her. Well, since we don't have any clues, let's follow the spirit bees first. Yun Chujiu nodded. She would never admit that she just wanted to go after some of their honey. The five of them soon had a bad feeling. They found that the spirit bees had been repeatedly circling in the sea of flowers. Even though they stopped tracking the spirit bees later, they found that they had ended up in the same area, and they had fallen into a maze. At that time, the sea of flowers was no longer attractive in the eyes of the group. It was just a prison with a beautiful exterior. Little sister Jiao, what should we do? Although these flowers are colorful, each area is the same as before. We have been circling around the same area without realizing it. Shui Wuji frowned. Among the 5 people, only Yun Chujiu knew a little about arrays. The other 4 people knew nothing on the subject. Naturally, they all turned their eyes to Yun Chujiu for guidance. Yun Chujiu touched her nose. I only know 2 tried and tested methods. One is to find the right reference point to pinpoint where the barrier is. The other is to create a spiritual energy fluctuation and break the enchantment by force. Reference points? These flowers are all the same, so they can't be used as a reference. The sky is covered with thick clouds, and the sun can't be seen. These spiritual bees and butterflies keep flying along the same path, so they can't be used either. Shui Wuji said dejectedly. Biming raised his eyebrows. If there's none, then we'll create one. Shui Wuji pursed his lips. That's easy for you to say. How? Can you create a sun or a moon? Chapter 878. Biming's methods. Biming looked at him indifferently. He raised his hand and a huge ice dragon pounced towards the sea of flowers. Those delicate flowers could not withstand the ice dragon's rampage. Wherever the ice dragon passed by, the flowers instantly wilted and an empty plain about 5 miles long was created. Biming raised his hand again and the ice dragon meandered forward vertically. Keep up. Biming raised his eyebrows and said to everyone. The corner of Yun Chujiu's eyes twitched. Well, such a rough solution was not so bad. Fortunately, the flowers were easier to deal with. If the pretty boy did not have enough spiritual power, the rest of them would still be able to help. The 5 of them adjusted the direction as they walked forward, making sure to be perpendicular to the first line. Sure enough, they encountered a barrier 2 hours later, and could not move forward anymore. Shui Wuji said unwillingly, I can't believe we found the enchantment like this. We're just lucky. Brother Wuji, this Prince Charming isn't lucky. He's doing this for a reason. With that line as a reference, we won't be going in circles anymore. Yun Chujiu said with twinkling eyes. Yun Chujiu's words were like salt on Shui Wuji's wound. Therefore, he vented all his frustration on the enchantment. A huge spirit skull bomb smashed against the enchantment. It was only a maze, so the enchantment was not very strong. Shui Wuji only used 15 minutes to break the enchantment. Brother Wuji, your spirit skull bomb is also very powerful. Yun Chujiu said excitedly. Shui Wuji automatically ignored the word, also. He was so happy in his heart. Little sister Jiao praised him. He had said that his chance to shine would be here sooner or later. The spiritual herbs in here are indeed much more advanced than those in the West Valley. Yun Chujiu said when she saw some of the spiritual herbs around her. Biming and Shui Wuji nodded. There were so many high-quality spiritual herbs. They were rare even in the Tianyuan continent. No wonder the 4 sects sent their elders and disciples here despite the risks. Yun Chujiu sighed regretfully. Sigh, if it wasn't for the urgent need to save people, I would have liked to pick some of these spirit herbs to bring back. These are all potential spirit stones. Biming and the other 3 believed that that was what Yun Chujiu was thinking. She had always been someone who would take the chance to make a profit. Were not for the fact that their time was limited, she would never have returned empty-handed. Little sister Jiao, when we find those people who are trapped, we will ask each of them to give you 100 spirit herbs. We can't save them for nothing, right? Yun Chujiu's eyes lit up. Brother Wuji, that's a good idea. When the time comes, it'll be the good cop and you'll be the bad cop. Well, split the herbs we extorted 50-50. 50-50? Isn't what's mine yours? I'll give them all to you. I don't want any of them. This is a good idea that you came up with, so you deserve to have a share too. Seeing the two brothers and sisters talking to each other so intimately, Biming felt a little gnawing in his heart. He snorted coldly. Don't forget what you're here for. The longer you delay, the more dangerous it will be for you to be trapped here. Xue Wuji was about to retort when his heart suddenly moved. Ha ha ha, Biming, this expressionless man was jealous. Humph. It'll be satisfying to anger you to death. Let little sister Jiu take a good look at your true colors. Little sister Jiu, Biming is right. It's still more important for us to save the people. Don't worry, leave the matter of the medicinal herbs to me. I guarantee that it'll make you a fortune. Xue Wuji said to Yun Chujiu with a smile as his phoenix-like eyes overflowed with color and emotion. Chapter 879. The definition of a love-hate relationship. Unfortunately, Yun Chujiu was distracted by a golden witch hazel by the roadside. She did not pay attention to Xue Wuji at all. She replied casually, "Then thank you, brother Wuji. Haha, I was just worried about how to refine a spirit-nourishing pill for a little loach. I didn't even need to spend any effort to get it." Yun Chujiu dug out the golden plant with a small shovel as she spoke, too busy to care about the details. Xue Wuji was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He had secretly practiced this affectionate gaze for a long time, but it was missed by little sister Jiu just like that. Biming stood at the side and said indifferently, "Xue Wuji, there are some things that cannot be obtained by hard work. You should give up as soon as possible." Humph. There are no absolutes in life. Let's wait and see, Xue Wuji said with a cold snort. Yun Chujiu had already dug out the golden witch hazel and put it into the jade box before storing it in her storage ring. She asked with a smile, "Prince Charming, brother Wuji, what are you talking about? Why do you sound so excited? I find that your relationship is getting better and better." Biming and Xue Wuji snorted at the same time. A good relationship? What a joke. Yun Chujiu looked at the two of them and suddenly thought of something. This was the definition of a love-hate relationship. She immediately imagined a novel with a similar premise. To Wu Xiaobei, little Gong pretended to like a girl, but in fact he was only interested in Xiaobei, while Xiaobei kept provoking little Gong, hoping to get his attention. "Hey little Jiu, what are you staring at? Hurry up and follow me." Biming realized that the words black thing no longer fit Yun Chujiu. White thing was a more appropriate nickname now. Biming, can't you be gentler to little sister Jiu? She has been digging for a long time, can't she take a break? Xue Wuji naturally would not let go of this opportunity to elevate himself and defame Biming. The corners of the eyes of secret agent Hua Hua and Enfeng twitched. It seemed like little Miss Jiu had been digging for less than half an hour. Right? How tiring could it be? Moreover, the ninth miss was clearly in a daze just now, and the smile on her face looked so perverted no matter how one looked at it. Yun Chujiu laughed dryly and hopped around to hold Biming's arm. She thought to herself, fortunately, the pretty boy was not attracted to others like him. Otherwise, she would not be able to enjoy meat in the future. Speaking of which, she was already 16 years old. Why had her period not yet start? If her body did not function normally, when would she become like fifth and seventh sisters? Little sister Jiu, why don't we catch a high-level demon beast later? Just like at the West Valley, well interrogated about the whereabouts of the trapped people. Little sister Jiu. Xue Wuji saw that Yun Chujiu didn't respond, so he called out again. Yun Chujiu finally came back to her senses. "Ah, brother Wuji, what did you say?" "I said, why don't we capture a demonic beast to lead the way?" Xue Wuji couldn't help but feel puzzled. What was little sister Jiu thinking of just now? Why was she so engrossed in her thoughts? Yun Chujiu nodded. "All right, let's do it that way. Let's see which unlucky bastard comes to us voluntarily." However, what made the five of them feel strange was that they had not encountered a single demonic beast the entire day, let alone a high-level one. Little sister Jiu, could it be that this place is still isolated from the East Valley? No. Look, there were obvious signs of people picking herbs and traces of demon beast activity. However, these marks are at least half a month old. Could it be that something happened to them? Or were they trapped somewhere else? Yun Chujo frowned and said, "Oh." Chapter 880. I climbed too fast. Yes, what Little Joe said makes sense. This should be the East Valley. I just don't know why the demonic beasts and cultivators suddenly disappeared. They are likely trapped somewhere. Biming felt that what Yun Chujo said made sense. Little Sister Joe, what should we do next? Should we just try looking for their whereabouts without a plan first? There doesn't seem to be any other good solutions. We can only search in one direction. Yun Chujo sighed and said. Yun Chujo had considered releasing the demon beasts in her storage ring and letting them help look around on their own. However, this place was different from the West Valley. They were not familiar with the layout of the valley here. Moreover, although they were at the top of the food chain in the West Valley, however, they were now at the bottom of the food chain in the East Valley. If they were not careful, they might end up eaten by high-level demonic beasts. They could not possibly save them and hurt them at the same time. It's really strange. You said that the cultivators gathered to discuss ideas on how to get out. Then they might have been wiped out by a whole nest of beasts. However, the demon beasts have always been scattered and uncoordinated. What method did the people of the godly devil hall use to capture or trap them? Yun Chujo was puzzled. Biming thought for a moment and said, perhaps they have something that can attract demon beasts. We neglected this problem at Longping Mountain. Almost all the demon beasts there were captured by the formation. I guess the godly devil hall used special methods back then too. Although Xue Wuji wanted to disagree with Biming, he had to admit that Biming's analysis was reasonable. No matter how high your spiritual power was, it was impossible to find out where all the demon beasts were hiding. There had to be something that attracted the demon beasts to make them want to voluntarily walk into the trap. Yun Chujo inexplicably thought of the strange grass in her dantian. If she used it, would she be able to create a similar effect? There wouldn't be any relatives of the strange grass in the godly devil hall, right? While thinking about the strange grass, she suddenly thought of an idea. They could do the opposite and let the strange grass summon the demon beasts. Even if none of the demon beasts came, they would still feel restless after they sensed the summoning. It was also possible that some managed to avoid the trap. Perhaps they might be able to find some clues from those left behind. After all, how could so many demon beasts disappear without leaving any traces? Yun Chujo thought of that and used her divine sense to ask the strange grass, do your best to lure some demon beasts here. If you do well, you will be rewarded. Ever since the strange grass saw Biming seal the last time, he was extremely obedient. When he heard Yun Chuji's instructions, he immediately started to try summoning demon beasts with all his might. 2 hours had passed, but there was still no reaction. Yun Chujo frowned. Could it be that every single one of the beasts was trapped? The place where the demonic beasts were trapped was either very far away, or the trap restricted their freedom. There was simply no way to do anything. Just as Yun Chujo was deep in thought, a level 10 golden tortoise came stumbling over from afar. Yun Chujo suddenly understood how it had escaped the trap. The golden tortoises move very slowly, relying entirely on its sturdy shell to defend itself. It would not eat for 8 to 10 years after having a meal. The tortoises must have crawled too slowly back then and were injured. Before it could reach its destination, the trap was sprung. However, this golden tortoise felt that it was about to fly up. It had never climbed so fast in its life. Oh my God, it had no idea it could also climb so fast. It was almost in awe of itself. It was probably the fastest in the golden tortoise species. Chapter 881. An insultingly simple method. Yun Chujo saw that she had finally caught one of the demon beasts that had slipped through the net, so she asked the strange grass to stop the summoning. The golden tortoise was charging toward them at a speed it did not think was possible. It did not expect the fatally attractive scent to suddenly disappear. It felt dumbfounded. Little shell, come over here. I want to ask you something. Yun Chujo gestured at the golden tortoise. The golden tortoise finally noticed Yun Chujo and the other three. It was so scared that it wanted to turn around and run back the way it came. Unfortunately, its actions looked like a slow-motion replay in the eyes of the crowd. It was so slow. Little shell, I advise you to behave yourself. Otherwise, I don't mind crippling 3 of your claws. If you cooperate a little, perhaps I can treat you with a little kindness. Yun Chujo jumped in front of the golden tortoise as she took out a large kitchen knife and said fiercely. The golden tortoise immediately shrunk its head into its shell. Its speed was even faster than lightning. Yun Chujo could not help but laugh. This tortoise's shirking speed was much faster than its crawling speed. Little shell, do you think you'll be fine just by hiding your head in your shell? I have a lot of firewood in my storage ring. I'll put you over the fire and slowly roast you. I don't believe that your shell is completely fireproof. The golden tortoise almost fainted from anger. Damn! Where did this little devil come from? To think that she could come up with such a simple way to hurt it. It was insultingly simple. No matter how hard its shell was, it was still a body of flesh and blood. How could it withstand fire? And she said that she could cure its crippled leg? If what she said was true, that would be great. Where it was not for the crippled leg, it would not have crawled around so slowly. The golden tortoise's slender eyes rolled around as it raised its injured front leg and shook it. Are you asking me if I can cure your crippled leg? Yun Chujo asked with a smile. The golden tortoise nodded. Its leg had been injured for more than 10 years. After it was injured, although it knew which herb could cure it, it could not reach the herbs on time. By the time it found the 7-petal hibiscus, it would be already several months later and the herb would have rotted, so even if it ate the 7-petal hibiscus, it would not cure its leg. Yun Chujo had picked some herbs sparsely along the way. It was just enough to refine a batch of muscle-growing pills. However, ordinary muscle-growing pills could not cure the golden tortoise's old injury. Only the heaven-grade muscle-growing pills could do it. Prince Charming, Brother Wuji, help protect me while I refine the muscle-growing pills for the little shell. Although the golden tortoise would obey if she forced it, Yun Chujo felt that it was better to let it help her of its own initiative. After all, when being forced to do something, the seeds of dissatisfaction are almost always sown. Who knows what kind of evil schemes might be hatched against her if that happened. After Yun Chujo took out and activated the isolation disc, she began to refine some medicinal pills. The pretty boy had once said that she could refine heaven-grade pills without letting others know, so it was better to be careful. After a quarter of an hour, Yun Chujo put away the isolation array, and a rich medicinal fragrance immediately spread out from where she was. Shwewuji was shocked. Little Sister Jo, you refined a muscle-growing pill? How did you finish refining it in such a short time? Shouldn't it take 2 hours? What nonsense are you talking about? Little Jo, ignore him. Quickly feed the pill to the golden tortoise and ask it for the whereabouts of those people. Although Di Biming knew that Shwewuji had a good impression of Yun Chujo and would not harm her, people's hearts were hard to predict. Now that they were friends, it was hard to guarantee that they would be enemies in the future. Little Jo's alchemy skills were heaven-defying, and the fewer people who knew, the better. Chapter 882. A sea of red flowers. Shwewuji was sometimes a fool, but he was very shrewd. When he heard Di Biming's words, he knew what was going on in his heart. He sneered in his heart. This facial paralysis underestimated me. Shwewuji. Although I act recklessly, Little Sister Jo was irreplaceable in my heart. Why would I betray her? However, this facial paralysis was very interested in Little Sister Jo. If it were me, I would do the same. High-level alchemists were too popular in the cultivation world. Many forces imprisoned alchemists to use them exclusively for their own sex pill refinement. At that time, the golden tortoise had already swallowed the muscle revitalization pill. The crippled leg began to feel warm. The golden tortoise was so excited that it almost cried. That crippled leg had been numb for a long time. Now that it could feel the heat, it meant that the pill that the little devil gave it was indeed effective. After another hour, the golden tortoise's crippled leg had already returned to normal. The golden tortoise was so excited that tears streamed down its face. I could finally walk as fast as flying again. This was great. Little shell, I've healed your leg. Now bring us to the place where those demonic beasts were trapped. Don't say that you don't know anything, you must have escaped the trap because you were too slow. However, you should still know the general direction. The golden tortoise nodded. After it smelled the fragrance back then, it dragged its broken leg and crawled with all its might. Unfortunately, before it could reach the place, it had disappeared. When it came back to its senses, it found that the entire East Valley had gone silent. It was as if not a single demonic beast existed. The golden tortoise thought that something was wrong and quickly crawled back to the cave. Since then, it had never seen any other demonic beasts. Felt a little suspicious. Could the strange fragrance be a trap? This time, when the strange grass was emitting the fragrance, it initially ignored it, but the fragrance of the strange grass was stronger than the one before. It couldn't bear it anymore, so it desperately ran over. Yun Chujo originally wanted to let the golden tortoise lead the way, but considering its extremely slow speed, she summoned 3 huge mighty elephants from the spirit beast bag. The 5 of them and the golden tortoise sat on their backs and went towards the direction that the golden tortoise had indicated. A day later, while Yun Chujo sat on the elephant's back, she began to see a sea of fiery red flowers on the horizon. The red flowers blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Yun Chujo frowned. This spirit herb valley was not a garden, so it couldn't be cultivated by humans. How could the same type of flower grow so luxuriously? How could it cover such a large area? As they got closer to the sea of flowers, the 3 mighty elephants grew excited. They sped up and no longer listened to Yun Chujo's commands. Even the golden tortoise began to feel restless. Unfortunately, its speed was too slow to do anything. Even after trying for a long time, it only managed to climb a small distance. It did not even manage to climb down the elephant's back. What was worse was that even Enfeng and Secret Agent Wawa's eyes revealed an anxious look. If they had not used their spiritual power to forcefully suppress it, they would have jumped off the elephant's back and rushed toward the sea of flowers. Di Biming and Xue Wuji fared slightly better. Although the 2 of them also felt that there was a kind of power summoning them, their willpower was tough. They could rely on their willpower to suppress that desire, without resorting to using their spiritual power. The only one who was not affected was Yun Chujo, the little devil. She touched her chin. It seemed that the problem lay in the sea of red flowers. Chapter 883. I want to try something. Yun Chujo did not stop the mighty elephants and allowed them to charge into the sea of flowers. After entering the sea of flowers, the 5 of them jumped off the backs of the elephants. The 3 mighty elephants and the golden tortoise were still very excited, and were having fun amidst the sea of flowers. Enfeng and Secret Agent Hua also no longer resisted the effects. Sleepiness struck them and they just wanted to lie down. The 2 of them could only sit cross-legged and circulate their spirit energy to resist the lethargy. Di Biming took out the isolation disc and activated an isolation array. Only then did everyone snap out of their stupor. This flower is quite beautiful. What kind of flower it is? I haven't seen it in the 100 volumes of medicinal herbs. Yun Chujo said in confusion. Xue Wuji suddenly slapped his thigh. I remember. This was the infernal mirage flower. It was a spiritual plant from ancient times. It is extinct now during modern times. It's said that both cultivators and demon beasts thought that this flower was too dangerous, so they eradicated it as soon as they saw it sprouting anywhere. After a long time, it gradually became extinct. How can there be such a large field of infernal mirage flowers here then? That's right, this is indeed the infernal mirage flower. As the name implies, the fragrance emitted by this flower can cause many kinds of hallucinations. In the beginning it's exciting, but after a while one will start to feel sleepy. After one falls asleep, one will be immersed in hallucinations. Unless there's an external force to wake you up, you will die unknowingly. And the dead demon beast and human carcasses will become nutrients for the infernal mirage flower. What was even more terrifying was that if humans or demonic beasts stayed amongst the flowers for too long, they would become dependent on its fragrance. Even if they were awakened, they would do everything they could to find this flower again and willingly send themselves to their deaths. Di Biming added on. How long will it take for you to become addicted? If you become addicted, is there a way to break free of it? Yun Chujo nodded. The flower sounded similar to the modern poppy, but the infernal mirage flower seemed to be even more potent in its effects. It was indeed a flower of evil. You will become addicted in a month. There isn't any reliable method, and you can only rely on your willpower to forcefully get rid of your addiction. That's why this species of flower was feared by everyone. It didn't take long for it to become extinct. A month? I wonder how long Elder Chu and the others have been trapped here. Looks like we have to hurry. Since we can't find yet, let's destroy these flowers first. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes as she said, Prince Charming, help me clear out a small piece of land first. I want to try something. Although Di Biming did not understand what Yun Chujo wanted to do, he still cleared out a piece of land. Yun Chujo took out a pile of firewood from her storage ring and struck it with lightning. Then she used a rolling pin to hammer the burnt charcoal. After the charred charcoal was hammered into small particles, Yun Chujo mixed a few recovery pills into it. Then she took out a few pieces of linen from her storage ring. After wrapping the small particles in layers, she sewed them into a simple mask. Little madman, cover your mouth and nose with this and see if it has any effect. Yun Chujo handed the simple anti-poison mask to Enfeng. Yun Chujo was not that confident. The anti-poison mask was filled with activated charcoal, and the process was very complicated. Although the charcoal she used was a little stronger than the fire, it might not have any effect. However, it was mixed with a spirit awakening pill, so it should be able to make up for it. Enfeng followed Yun Chuji's instructions and tied the 2 strips to his ears. Then, he covered his mouth and nose with a linen cloth. The refreshing smell of the awakening pill instantly made people feel much more energized. In addition, the charred coal blocked the invasion of the infernal mirage flower's fragrance. He instantly felt refreshed. Chapter 884. The odd relationship between master and pet. Enfeng was unable to speak due to the mask being too heavy, so he gave Yun Chujo a thumbs up, indicating that the effect was very good. Seeing this, Yun Chujo quickly gave one each to Secret Agent Hua Hua, Di Biming and Xue Wuji. After the 3 of them put it on, they felt that it functioned well and expressed that the mask kept out the flower's fragrance. Yun Chujo immediately turned narcissistic. Sigh, what can I do about myself? Why am I so smart? I even have to admire myself. The corners of Di Biming and the other 3's eyes twitched. They ignored her and began to eradicate the infernal mirage flowers. Yun Chujo did not stay idle either. She first used a rolling pin to wake up the 3 mighty elephants and the golden tortoise before letting them into her spirit beast bag. Then she continued to make more masks. This mask had a time-limited effect. The charcoal and awakening pills inside had to be replaced regularly, otherwise, the mask would lose its effectiveness. Thus, she made quite a number of filling materials, using linen to sew dozens of replacement masks. Only then did she help Di Biming and the others get rid of the infernal mirage flowers. While Yun Chujo was happily being struck by lightning, the strange grass shyly expressed its desire to eat those flowers. At that point, Yun Chujo was already used to the unique tastes of what the strange grass wanted to consume. Moreover, earlier she had said that she would reward it, thus she began to uproot several infernal mirage flowers and stuff them in her mouth. Master, am not affected by those infernal mirage flowers. Let me out and I will help you burn them all, the flaming 3-tailed fox king said in the spirit beast bag. Yun Chujo was stunned for a moment. Then she realized that it made sense. Little Red had the innate ability to charm people, so it naturally had a strong ability to resist charm. Thus she let him out to help. When Enfeng returned to change his mask, he was stunned to find that Yun Chujo was stuffing flowers into her mouth one by one, while the flaming 3-tailed fox king was using fireballs to burn the remaining flowers near Yun Chujo. Enfeng put a palm to his face and looked at the 2. He felt that he had suffered a critical hit of 10,000 points. Yun Chujo handed a new mask to Enfeng. Then she emptied the expired charcoal inside the old mask and refilled it with a fresh batch. This way it could be used again. The sea of flowers was very large. The 5 of them worked for an entire day, but they had not found any trapped cultivators or demon beasts. Moreover, they could not see the edge of the sea of flowers. At night, The 5 of them activated an isolation array in a clearing and began to recuperate. Sigh, this sea of flowers is endless. I wonder if Elder Chu and the others can hold on until we find them. Yun Chujo sighed and said, Little Joe, you don't have to worry too much. Elder Chu and the others also have isolation array discs on them. If they react quickly and activated the isolation array discs in time, they should be able to hold on for some time. Besides, didn't that golden tortoise say that the last time the demon beasts were attracted was half a month ago? I reckon that Elder Chu and the rest have not been trapped for that long. Di Baiming consoled. Yun Chujo nodded. I hope so. The people of the Godly Devil Hall are indeed powerful. This infernal mirage flower field was not planted in a day or two. It seems like they had planned to do this all along. I don't believe that it grew naturally. Di Baiming frowned. It seems like the Godly Devil Hall is much more powerful than we thought. What we discovered might only be the tip of the iceberg. Perhaps their tendrils have already extended to the Tianyuan continent. Xue Wuji also became serious. That's right. I didn't take this bullshit Godly Devil Hall seriously at first. But now it seems like they're not to be underestimated. The strength behind it is unfathomable. When we go back, I have to send people to investigate them. Chapter 885. I borrowed them after they had some food. The 5 of them busied themselves once again. They began to make masks, under Yun Chuji's instruction. After several experiments, this mask could only last for 15 minutes, which was a huge consumption of resources. Fortunately, Yun Chuji's storage ring contained ample amounts of firewood and awakening pills. The next day, the 5 of them continued to destroy the infernal mirage flowers. Yun Chujo threw lightning bolts for a while before she realized that it was too slow. It was best if there was a faster and easier way. Master, it would be great if this thing was a dead branch. The living branches and leaves are all wet. It burns too slowly. Flaming Three-Tailed Fox King complained. Little Red, are you stupid? If it were a dead branch, would you still need to burn it? Yun Chujo rolled her eyes at it. The flaming three-tailed fox choked and stopped moving after realizing what he had said. He silently continued to spew more fireballs at the flowers after that. Yun Chujo rubbed her chin and thought for a moment. Little Red's words were not unreasonable. If she could think of a way to make the fire burn faster, that would be great. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes and came up with an idea. She shouted at the 4 people in front of her, Hey! All of you come over here. I have an idea. Di Baiming and the other 4 quickly gathered around her. Little Joe, what sort of idea do you have? Hehe. Watch me. After Yun Chujo finished speaking, she took out 5 large copper basins from her storage ring which were filled with rapeseed oil. Let's pour this rapeseed oil onto those infernal mirage flowers. I'll throw some more firewood into it. After lighting it up, Brother Wuji, you should generate some wind. The wind will borrow the strength of the fire, and the fire will borrow the strength of the wind. This combination will definitely turn the fire into an inferno. Little Sister Joe, what if we hurt those trapped people? Aya, this infernal mirage flower doesn't burn easily. The areas without the rapeseed oil and firewood will be extinguished quickly. If you're still worried, we'll just set up a quarantine zone somewhere nearby. Yun Chujo said with a smile. Xue Wuji repeatedly praised her. Little Sister Joe, how can you be so smart? I really admire you. Di Baiming saw that Xue Wuji had started acting flirty again. He wished he could kick Xue Wuji toward the clouds. With a sullen face he said, In that case, let's hurry up and not waste any time. Yun Chujo transferred the firewood and rapeseed oil into the storage rings of the other 4, and then began to divide the work. A moment later, a raging fire started to burn. Yun Chujo said proudly, How is it? A good idea is half of the recipe to success. The efficiency is much higher than before. Moreover, this doesn't consume spiritual power. I'm simply too smart. Xue Wuji was naturally the first to support her. He said sincerely, Little Sister Joe, didn't I say just now? You're the smartest and most beautiful girl I've ever seen. Just as Yun Chujo was about to pretend to be humble when she saw Di Baiming smirk and say, Little Joe, What I'm more interested in is where did you get all these jars of rapeseed oil? Why did you store so much rapeseed oil? Yun Chujo laughed dryly. I borrowed them all from the Spirit Radiant sect's kitchen. I'm from a poor family after all. You all know that old bastard Tian Dao doesn't like me. Who knows, I might be trapped somewhere, so I naturally have to prepare everything. Let me tell you, not only do I have rapeseed oil, but I also have several jars of salt in my storage ring. There's also soy sauce, vinegar, and pepper noodles. Basically, I have everything I need to start a restaurant if I wanted to. Di Biming and the other three were once again struck speechless. Chapter 886. Found them. Everyone thought to themselves, borrow? I have a feeling the things you borrowed will never be returned. Wherever the fire went, the infernal mirage flowers burned to a crisp. Occasionally, the few that did not burn to ash were eradicated by the 5 of them. It was better to extinguish such evil flowers. Even with such a large fire, it was not until the afternoon of the 3rd day that everyone heard the cries of demonic beasts. Everyone sped up their efforts and no longer burned the flowers. Instead, they used their spirit powers to destroy the infernal mirage flower. An hour later, they discovered that a few demonic beasts were in a state of frenzy. It was obvious that they were still affected by the flower's fragrance. Yun Chujo gave them a smack with her rolling pin and made them stay further away from the flowers. Then she splashed them with cold water to wake them up. The demonic beasts had blank looks on their faces. You were poisoned by the infernal mirage flower and I just saved you. Where are the rest of the demonic beasts and cultivators? Are they far from here? Yun Chujo asked the demonic beasts. The demonic beasts nodded and pointed in a direction with their claws. Yun Chujo chose the smallest of the demonic beasts and put on a gas mask for it to lead the way while she kept the rest of the demonic beasts in her spirit beast bag. Those few demonic beasts obeyed Yun Chujo's instructions. They were not stupid. If the little girl wanted to kill them, she would have already done so just now. Therefore, they confidently followed her in peace. The smallest demonic beast was a 2-eyed lightning mink. After putting on the mask, it miraculously realized that it could not smell the abominable fragrance anymore. It admired these few humans. These 5 people were much smarter than the ones trapped inside. The more they walked inside, the more distinct the roars of the various demon beasts became. Gradually, they started to see some large demon beasts. Without a doubt, those demon beasts were all still affected by the flower's abominable fragrance. Some were extremely excited, and some were unable to control their grief. Some were madly spinning in circles. Yun Chujo and the others could only knock them unconscious one by one, and put them into their spirit beast bags, preparing to wake them up again when they had time. Finally, Yun Chujo saw the isolation arrays laid out in front of them, which were filled with cultivators. Yun Chujo immediately saw the elders of the Spirit Radiance sect, and her heart instantly relaxed. When those people also saw Yun Chujo and the other 3, they immediately felt a sense of hope wash over them. These people were different from the people trapped in the West Valley. Most of them had been to the ancient sword tomb, so they knew the strength of these 5 people. Especially when they saw that Yun Chujo had escaped from the ancient sword tomb, they felt that this little girl was not ordinary. She would be the one to save them for sure. Yun Chujo did not have time to chat with them. She gave masks to a few cultivators with high spiritual power, and asked them to help destroy the infernal mirage flowers. Yun Chujo asked the trapped cultivators to provide a lot of firewood and items that could ignite a fire. Soon a large fire burned fiercely. The more people there were, the more power there was. Everyone worked for almost a day, and finally burned all the infernal mirage flowers into ashes. Even if some did not die, they were destroyed by their spiritual powers and couldn't be resurrected. Yun Chujo then asked about what happened to everyone, and why they were trapped in this sea of flowers. Elder Chu sighed and began to tell the story. After we found out that we were trapped here, we started to look for a way out, but there was no exit. The ones who came in later ended up in the boat. We eventually gathered together here. We were unwilling to be trapped like this, so we split up again to look for a way out or a barrier. However, almost everyone returned with bad news. Just when we were falling to despair, Elder Zhang from the Heavenly Gate sect suddenly ran back and said excitedly that he had found the barrier. Chapter 887. The story of being trapped. When we heard his words, we were naturally overjoyed. In our joy, we didn't bother to ask any more questions and followed him to this place. At that time, these infernal mirage flowers were just some low plants that hadn't bloomed yet. Moreover, their young plants were very similar to the non-toxic flaming paper kite. At that time, we were in a hurry to find the enchantment barrier, so we didn't examine them carefully. We thought that it was just flaming paper kites, so even though we thought that there were a lot of them, we didn't consider them a threat. However, when we entered this place, those flaming paper kites grew buds at a rapid speed and bloomed into infernal mirage flowers. In an instant, a rich fragrance pervaded the air. Fortunately, Elder Qi reacted quickly and told us to quickly activate an isolation array. At the moment we entered the isolation array, a large number of demonic beasts rushed over here. Despite being in the isolation array, we soon fell under the illusions of the flowers. Elder Chu briefly recounted what had happened. Elder Zhang of the Heavenly Gate sect? The Elder Zhang who framed me for killing his grandson? Yun Chuzhou asked. That's right, it's him. Then where is he? That bastard didn't wait for us to settle the score with him. He bit his index finger and used a secret technique. After the image of a red spider lily formed in midair, he disappeared. I never thought that he was actually from the Red Spider Lily faction. The Heavenly Gate sect again? I caught a person from the Godly Devil Hall in the West Valley. Oh, so that's the name of the Red Spider Lily faction. It seems that the Godly Devil Hall has already embedded a spy amongst the four great section. Yun Chuzhou briefly told everyone what had happened in the West Valley. The elders of the Heavenly Gate sect looked ashamed. They had not expected that the spies from the East and West Valleys to be from the Heavenly Gate sect. Little Joe girl, you have always been resourceful. What should we do next? Following Elder Chu's words, everyone looked at Yun Chuzhou with anticipation. Yun Chuzhou was now their last hope. They placed all their trust in Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou touched her nose and said, Everyone, I don't have any good ideas. I only have 3 methods that worked so far. The first one is the same one I used in the ancient sword tomb. It involves drawing out the rune spirits Wu Yun to attack me. Doing so will consume its spirit stones. We will look out for the fluctuations in spirit energy to help us find the enchantment. The second is to split up and look for a place where the fluctuation of spiritual power is abnormal. The third is the same method that I used in the West Valley. I will let the demon beasts help us look for it. They are more familiar with the terrain here. Maybe they might find something. Little Joe, the second method is basically useless. We have almost run all over this place, but we haven't found any abnormal spiritual power fluctuations. We can only try the first and third moves. Okay. Then I'll try to lure out the Wu Yun by cursing it. After saying that, Yun Chuzhou began to curse at the rune spirit with her hands on her waist. Her cursing was so dry that it did not have any effect. Yun Chuzhou asked everyone to help her curse it, but it still did not have any effect. Apparently, the rune spirit here did not fall for her trick. Yun Chuzhou had no choice but to let out the demon beasts from the spirit beast bag. After waking them up, she told them about the incident. The demon beasts were even more intelligent than the ones in the West Valley. They immediately understood Yun Chuzhou's meaning, but one by one they shook their heads. It meant that they had lived here for hundreds, or even thousands of years without discovering any abnormal spiritual fluctuations. Everyone was discouraged. It was over. The little devil's 3 methods had all failed. Could it be that they could only await their deaths here? Chapter 888. I will protect you too. Yun Chuzhou had no other choice. She had never studied array formations before, and had only learned the basics from some books she had read. Other than finding the enchantment and breaking it by force, she did not have any other good ideas. Seeing this, everyone could only try their best and split up again to look for places where the spiritual energy fluctuation was abnormal. including those demonic beasts. The golden tortoise also wanted to go but was kicked aside by Yun Chujio. Forget it. Before you managed to climb 2 miles, those other beasts would already be back. The golden tortoise felt that its self-esteem had been severely damaged. Was it that slow in climbing? It felt that it was only a little slower than the other beasts. As the days passed, everyone and the demonic beasts returned dejectedly, as they still found nothing. Yun Chujio did not know whether to laugh or cry when she found out that some of the demonic beasts were still missing. Later on, she found out that they had been eaten by other high-level demonic beasts. She thought that it was true. Those high-level demonic beasts had been starving for half a month, so they naturally wanted to have a good meal. When the golden tortoise found out about this situation, it immediately felt that Yun Chujio's kick was a good thing. Otherwise, it would have been eaten by them too. It was too close for comfort. Everyone and the other beasts were very depressed. All of them drooped their heads. Only Yun Chujio was still alive and kicking. She ate and drank well every day and did not seem to be worried at all. "Little Joe, aren't you worried that we won't be able to get out?" Elder Chu asked in confusion. "Time still passes if you're worrying. The same also happens if you're happy. Might as well be happy. Besides, is worrying useful? If you are happy, you might find a solution in a flash." Yun Chujio said with a smile. Elder Chu was stunned, and then he threw his head back and laughed. "That's right. This old man is not as open-minded as a little girl like you. Indeed, it's useless to be sad. You can be happy instead. Little Joe, lend me a small hot pot. I want to satisfy my craving." Hearing their conversation, some of the people and beasts became more cheery, but most people still dropped their heads and frowned. Although Yun Chujio was acting carefree, she had been busy thinking of a way to get out inside. Who would be willing to wait for death? She originally planned to summon the Leopard King as a leather chair, but when he saw Di Biming, he immediately changed his mind. "Prince Charming, come here for a moment." Yun Chujio stretched out her hands and waved at Di Biming. Di Biming thought that she had something to do, so he quickly got up and sat beside her. "Little Joe, what's the matter?" "Well, it's nothing big. I'm a little tired." "Let me lean on your shoulder for a while," Yun Chujio said and leaned on Di Biming. Di Biming put his right hand around her waist and said gently, "If you're tired, sleep for a while." "I'm not tired. I just can't think. It's a little annoying." Yun Chujio pouted and said, "There will always be a way. Don't worry. Even if the enchantment is destroyed, I will protect you. Nothing will happen to you." Di Biming's eyes were deep, and his words were full of determination. Yun Chujio felt her little heart go weak. Damn, when Prince Charming talks about love, it's too destructive on me. She wanted to ravage him. The two looked at each other with tenderness and a swirl of emotions, all in silence. "Little sister Joe, I will protect you too. I would rather die than let anything happen to you." Shuewuji could not stand Di Biming and Yun Chujio showing off their love and affection, so he immediately took the initiative to give Di Biming a hard time. Chapter 889. No one else like him. Di Biming took a deep look at Shuewuji. Shuewuji could not help but shiver. He shouted, "Di Biming, why are you looking at me? I just want to express my feelings. Can't I do it?" Di Biming snorted, "You're thinking too much. I'm just looking at the scenery." Shuewuji looked at the charred ground and thought to himself, "Are you trying to fool me? Di Biming, be a little more sincere when you're lying." "Okay. There's nothing but scorched earth around. What are you looking at? Your taste isn't that weird, right? Do I need to explain to you what I'm looking at?" "I have my reasons for looking at it," Di Biming said coldly. "Humph. There's still a reason. If you can see through the enchantment, then you're the best." Shuewuji curled his lips. Di Biming was originally staring at Shuewuji, so he was not looking at the scenery. However, Shuewuji's provocation gave him have a flash of inspiration. Such a large area of infernal mirage flowers must have been artificially planted. Are you just only realizing things? Of course such a large area naturally can't have grown naturally. Shwewuji curled his lips and said with a disdainful tone. Biming ignored him and continued. Since it was planted by humans, then the godly devil hall must have sent people here. And there must be more than one person. Yet the demonic beasts have never noticed anything unusual. What does this mean? Yun Chujo clapped her hands. It means that they must have activated an isolation array when they planted it, but that's not the point. The point is that they can come and go freely. Either they have set up a teleportation array here, or this place is close to the enchantment. Biming curled his lips. That's right, what little Joe said makes sense. So, we just need to focus on the vicinity of this field of infernal mirage flowers, and we will definitely find something. A teleportation array costs a lot of resources, and it takes a long time to set up. So it is very likely to be right next to the enchantment. The people from the godly devil hall most likely opened a gap in the enchantment before they came in. Yun Chujo jumped up happily and told everyone and the beasts Biming's deduction. Hope rekindled in everyone's hearts again, and they began to look for the enchantment separately. Although the area of this infernal mirage flower was not small, there were many cultivators and demon beasts. They put in their best efforts and finally a day later they found something. Yun Chujo did not expect that the one who found the enchantment was the golden tortoise. The story went like this. Everyone and the other beasts set off to find the enchantment. The golden tortoise did not want to be outdone. Unfortunately, it could not climb far despite trying its best. Yun Chujo saw that it was too slow, so she decided to be playful. Little shell, you are too slow. Come, I will send you off. Little Joe's shadowless kick. After saying that, she kicked the golden tortoise. The golden tortoise flew 1,000 feet away by Yun Chujo. And then a strange scene happened. The golden tortoise hit something and was bounced back. Both the golden tortoise and Yun Chujo were dumbfounded. He had found the location of the enchantment just like that. Yun Chujo rubbed her eyes and asked the golden tortoise with a slightly trembling voice, Little shell, did you just bounce against something? The golden tortoise nodded its head rapidly. He felt that his luck was really good recently. First, his crippled leg had been healed by the little devil. Then, he had escaped the fate of being eaten by a high-level demon beast. Now, he had found the location of the barrier by accident. There was no one else like him. Chapter 890. Little Joe's shadowless kick. Yun Chujo quickly ran to the spot where the golden tortoise had bounced against. She threw a bolt of lightning in front of her. And sure enough, her spiritual power attack hit something. Ha 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 ha. She laughed so hard that she fell back and forth. Blessed people don't need to be busy. I didn't expect that I would find the enchantment with just one kick. My little Joe's shadowless kick is too cool. There were dozens of onlookers nearby. They stared at each other. How could things work like this? Damn it. They had been searching for the enchantment for months without finding anything. The little shell found it with one kick from the little devil. Were the heavens bullying them because they were uneducated? This was too fucking unfair. Little sister, little Joe, you are so awesome. You are the person that I admire the most. Shwewuji immediately began to flatter her. Yun Chujo was laughing so hard that she could not close her mouth, but she still pretended to be modest. I'm just SOS. Biming was calculating in his heart. No matter what, he had to find something for Shwewuji to do after leaving the enchantment. He was getting annoying. Everyone quickly call back those people and beasts. Let's discuss how to break the enchantment and seize the moment, Biming said to those onlookers and beasts. The crowd and the beasts immediately went to deliver the message happily. Not long after, the others rushed back at the fastest speed in their lives. Little Joe, did you really find the enchantment? How did you find it? I heard that it involved kicking a tortoise. What happened? Elder Chu asked anxiously. I am the kindest person. I saw that this golden tortoise crawled too slowly, so I used my little Joe's shadowless kick to send it off. Then it coincidentally bumped into the enchantment and bounced against it. The corner of Yun Chujia's mouth was so proud that it could not be hidden. She felt that this matter could be bragged about for years. Everyone and the other beasts listened to Yun Chujia's story, and were also dumbfounded. The difference between the abilities of humans was too big. It was really a blow to regular people. However, they were more concerned about how to break the enchantment. They were already going crazy being trapped here for so long. Moreover, the godly devil hall might have already made a move outside. Almost half of the high-level cultivators of the Azure Mystic continent were trapped here. If the godly devil hall made a move now, things would be dire. After Yun Chujo divided everyone into groups, they began to take turns attacking the barrier. Yun Chujo also released the demonic beasts of the West Valley and asked them to help attack the enchantment together. She also warned those high-level demonic beasts not to hurt them, or they would be struck by lightning to their death. Those high-level demonic beasts had already eaten their fill. Naturally, they would not be so stupid as to openly defy Yun Chujo, this little devil. They let out a few roars as a sign of agreement. This enchantment was much stronger than the ancient sword tombs. This was because the ancient sword tombs enchantment had been greatly depleted by the Wu Yun, there expending much of its energy. However, the spiritual energy here was abundant. Fortunately, there were many cultivators and demon beasts. They could replenish their spiritual energy by taking turns to attack. However, cultivators could take fasting pills and food. Those demon beasts, however, did not have a reliable food source. They could only stare and starve. Even their attacks were not as fierce as before. Yun Chujo thought for a moment, and she painfully took out a lot of low-level demonic beast corpses from the Great Void Mystic Realm and fed those demonic beasts. She thought to herself, when I get out of here, I'll have to earn back twice as much of these things, or else I'll suffer a huge loss. Everyone was busy attacking the enchantment, so they did not pay much attention to Yun Chuji's actions. Even if they saw it, they thought that these demonic beast corpses were collected by Yun Chujo during the trial. They thought to themselves, this Yun Chujo is really greedy. She even collected the corpses of these low-level demonic beasts. She does not waste anything at all. Chapter 891. A dish of pills. Everyone and the demonic beasts kept up the attacks for a full 10 days. Although there were ripples on the barrier, there were no signs of cracks. However, everyone had little spiritual power left. Although they could take turns to rest, they had been using up their spiritual power faster than the rate at which they could recover. Everyone was a little discouraged. After all, this was an ancient formation. How could it be so easy to break the barrier? Previously, in the ancient sword tomb, it was because the rune spirit had fallen for Yun Chuji's trick. That was why they had taken advantage of it. This time they were afraid that they would not be able to escape using the same method. Everyone, don't be discouraged. Take out all the spirit gathering pills and explosive spirit pills in your storage rings and consume them. If there are any medicinal herbs, pass them to me and a few alchemists. We will immediately start refining pills for you. You must persevere, or else all your previous efforts will be wasted. The spring breeze blows and the war drums beat. Who have we ever been afraid of? Everyone charge. Yun Chujo took out a small pink veil and waved it vigorously. Everyone and the other beasts were immediately energized by Yun Chuji's words. They swallowed the medicinal pills one by one. Moreover, there was no distinction between humans and beasts now. While they ate, they also tossed some food to the demonic beasts, and the crowd began a new round of attacks. Yun Chujo and the other alchemists began to refine more explosive spirit pills. She did not use the Heaven and Earth Universal Furnace. Instead, she took out an alchemy furnace that she usually used in her sect, and began to refine the explosive spirit pills. Then, the so-called high-level alchemists of the Azure Mystic continent were dumbfounded. They saw that Yun Chujo could refine a batch of explosive spirit pills in less than 15 minutes. Moreover, all of them had a 100% success rate. What was even more abnormal was that 10 of them were all super-grade explosive spirit pills. Elder Qi had always suspected that Yun Chujo had been hiding her strength so that he would not lose face. At this moment he was even more convinced of this idea. This little girl's talent in refining pills was simply too shocking. Yun Chujo used the corner of her eyes to sweep across the dumbfounded crowd. She hurriedly said, "Everyone, don't just stand there. Hurry up and refine the pills. Whether or not we can break through the enchantment will depend on us. Only then did the crowd come back to their senses and resumed refining the pills. Although they were not as abnormal as Yunchujo, they were still the top alchemists of the Azure Mystic continent. Soon, a large batch of explosive spirit pills appeared on the ground. However, something seemed strange. They were placed on big dishes by Yunchujo. Those alchemists were dumbfounded. When had they ever used the big dishes to hold the pills? At the very least, they had used a gourd to hold it. It was an eye-opener for them. Yunchujo said with conviction, "It's convenient for them to use their hands to hold it in a bowl. Moreover, it's intuitive. You can see the number of pills refined at a glance." Another 10 days passed. Cracks began to appear in the enchantment, but it was not large enough to let these people and demonic beasts out. Yunchujo began to think again. She waved her pink veil and shouted, "The dawn of victory beckons to us. This is the moment of darkness before dawn. As long as we persevere, victory will definitely belong to us. Do you guys want to have a good meal? Do you guys want to have a good sleep? As long as we persevere for another 3 days, the enchantment will definitely break. I have high hopes for you guys." Sleeping was now an attractive prospect to everyone and the beasts. They only had a short period of time to take turns to rest for the past few days. They had suffered from a serious lack of sleep, and now they were completely relying on their spiritual essence to support themselves. With Yunchuji's bluff, everyone persisted for another 3 days. Although the crack had become a little bigger, it was still not enough for everyone to pass through. Yunchujo changed her strategy. Combine 2 groups into 1 group and double the strength. The enchantment will definitely be broken tomorrow. In fact, she was not sure if the enchantment could be broken the next day. However, in order to encourage them, they believed her and rushed forward again. Chapter 892. Savior Tax. The crack in the enchantment was big enough for more than a dozen people to pass through the next day. Yunchujo smugly touched her nose. What had she said earlier? The prediction was accurate. Everyone work harder. When the crack grows bigger, rush out according to the order of attack. Don't worry. The 5 of us will stay at the end. We will ensure that you can get out safely. Yunchujo continued to wave the small veil and shouted. Initially, everyone felt a little uneasy when they saw that Yunchujo, Debeiming, and the other 3 did not participate in the attack. Now that they heard Yunchujo say this, they could not help but feel ashamed. It was a textbook definition of not judging a book by its cover. They thought that they were slacking off, but in the end, they were the ones who were going to stay behind for everyone's sake. Some took the initiative to ask the last batch to evacuate together with Yunchujo and the others. Yunchujo nodded in agreement and remembered all these people in her heart. These were the people who could be befriended in the future. At the critical moment, one could even see a person's true character. Another day passed. The crack was by then large enough for dozens of people to rush out together. Yunchujo let the cultivators retreat first according to the order, and the demonic beasts were put into her spirit beast bag. She complained in his heart. The spirit beast bag that was given to me by the pretty boy seemed to have limitless capacity. It can actually continue to hold so many demonic beasts. Debeiming learned from the lesson of the ancient sword tomb, and did not leave Yunchuji's side for a moment. Shuewuji also stayed by her side, ready to be a hero at the critical moment to save the damsel in distress. However, the evacuation was uneventful. Yunchujo and the last group of people also safely withdrew from the enchantment. When the cultivators who went ahead saw Yunchujo and the others exit the barrier, they immediately cheered. At that time it was already evening outside. The sunset glow in the sky was particularly gorgeous. When everyone saw the beautiful scene in front of them, they felt as if a lifetime had passed. Those cultivators thanked Yunchujo in droves. Some of them even had red eyes. They would have hugged Yunchuji's thigh and howled were it was not for the fact they would get in trouble for doing that to a woman. Before Yunchujo could say anything, Shuewuji curled his lips and said, "You should at least be sincere in your thanks, right? My little ninth sister risked her life to save you. She has no blood relations with you. Yet you have the nerve to say a few words of thanks and it's over? Do you think it's appropriate for you to let my little ninth sister enter such a perilous place and return empty-handed? Do you think you can live with your conscience if you go back like this? Aren't you afraid that you would be haunted by guilt in the future? Don't you know what my little ninth sister likes the most? Spirit stones, spirit tools, spirit herbs, anything is fine. My little ninth sister is just too shy to accept them. Oh, keep them for her. Come on everyone. I guess you're tired too. After you give your thanks you can go to sleep. Brother Wu Ji, how can you say that? You are trying to repay us with kindness. That is not right. Everyone, don't listen to my brother. I have never asked for anything in return when I do good things. You don't have to feel guilty. Although I feel a little regretful that I didn't pick any spirit herbs. And although I almost died in there and suffered some psychological damage, you really don't have to give me any thanks. You really don't have to give me any spirit tools, spirit herbs, or spirit stones. Yun Chujo said with a smile. Everyone was speechless. Do you think we are all fools? You two are playing good cop, bad cop. This is a trick to get something. However, everyone did not object. How much was life worth? Life was priceless. Not to mention that the little girl only wanted a small token of appreciation. Even if she wanted all of their wealth, they would give it to her. Chapter 893. Shameless and invincible, everyone took out their gifts one after another. Spirit stones, spirit herbs, and spirit tools swooshed into Yun Chujia's storage ring. Although Yun Chujo said she did not want them, she did not reject them either and kept them all in her storage ring. Aya, you guys are too polite. Just give us 18 million spirit stones, 180 earth rank high-grade spirit herbs, or 10 spirit tools. There's really no need to give us more. The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. Didn't you just say you were rejecting our gifts? How is this a rejection of us giving you too little? You greedy little girl. Yun Chujo looked at the pile of gifts that were growing rapidly in her storage ring. Her heart was very still, but her eyelashes bloomed with joy. TSK, seems I've made a small fortune again. How satisfying. Yun Chujo released the high-grade demonic beasts from the spirit beast bag and asked for their wishes. Most of them were willing to let Yun Chujo send them to a suitable location. A small portion of them directly jumped into the valley nearby. Everyone discussed what to do next for a moment. In the past few days, their consumption of spiritual power and physical strength was too severe. They decided to rest there for 2 days before returning to their respective sections. With everyone gathered together, they could take turns being on guard. This was also safer to avoid any accidents. Right now, these people were left with less than 1/10 of their spiritual energy. If they went off alone and encountered people from the godly devil hall, they were as good as dead. Yun Chujo and Di Biming fared better. After all, they only acted at the last moment. Although Yun Chujo had refined a lot of pills, she was too monstrous. She was fine. The next morning, she was already alive and kicking and took the initiative to request to be on guard duty. Those cultivators wished that they could sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. Prince Charming, Brother Wuji, I think the time for a confrontation with the godly devil hall is approaching. However, their secret technique is too strange. If we can't break the secret teleportation technique, it will be really difficult for us to finish them off. Think about it. If they can't beat us, they just run. We will be too passive. Yun Chujo held a spirit fruit in her hand as she leaned back on the recliner and said with a frown, "That's right. Moreover, we have only seen 2 secret techniques of the red spider lily. Their power is so astonishing. Perhaps there are other secret techniques. I'm afraid it won't be easy to eliminate the godly devil hall." Di Biming frowned. This godly devil hall is too strange. Moreover, I'm afraid we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Shuewujian sighed. Little Sister Jiao, it's a pity that our cultivators from the Tianyuan continent are not only limited in spiritual power, but also punished by heaven for killing people. Even if we want to help you, there is a limit. Prince Charming, Brother Wuji, Evil cannot prevail over good. Moreover, since the godly devil hall has been lurking in the dark, it means that they must have a weakness. Either they are short-handed or the master is also limited in his spiritual power. In short, the cultivators of the Azure Mystic Continent have the geographical advantage, and we will win sooner or later. Yoon Chujia's tone was firm, her eyes shone with confidence. Little sister Jiao, I admire your optimistic personality. How do you do it? Xue Wuji asked curiously. It's very simple. Brother Wuji, have you heard of a saying? Xue Wuji picked up a teacup and asked, what is it? Yoon Chujio said slowly, a tree without skin will die without a doubt. A man with thick skin is invincible in the world. Xue Wuji, who was drinking tea, immediately spat it out. Fortunately, Yoon Chujio reacted quickly and jumped to the side. Otherwise, she would have bathed in tea. Chapter 894. The Fall of the Three Sects. Little sister Jiao, I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to say that. I'm surprised, but what you said makes sense. I've always thought about how much is face worth. It's only true if you get something in return, Xue Wuji said with a smile. Brother Wuji, you're right. Let others say what they want to say. It's not like they have a lot to offer anyway. When you're much stronger than them, they'll naturally shut up. Just like before, many people said that I'm trash, I'm ugly, and so on. I didn't even bother to pay attention to them because I know that a talented, city-toppling fairy like me will shine sooner or later. Yoon Chujio said proudly. And Feng stood at the side, the corners of his eyes slightly twitching. Miss Jiao, I admit that what you said is true, but is it really good for you to praise yourself like this? At that moment, the voice transmission talisman in Enfeng's storage ring started to vibrate. After Enfeng used his divine sense to read the message, his face instantly turned pale. Your Majesty, Miss Jiao. Something happened. The leader of the Heavenly Gate sect, Du Gai, had joined the Godly Devil Hall. The Godly Devil Hall has started to attack the other three great sects with the Heavenly Gate sect as its base. The Bixiao Palace and the Skyblade sect have been taken over by the Godly Devil Hall because a spy was working for them. The survivors have all gathered at the Spirit Radiance sect, which was barely able to maintain itself with the protection of the sect's great array. In addition, the Godly Devil Hall has captured all the civilians in the cities near the four great sections. They probably want to set up an evil array. Although the Yoon Mansion is protected by the secret guards and the Thunder Sex people, but, Enfeng could not continue. Yoon Chujia's heart froze. But what? But just last night, a mysterious woman from the Godly Devil Hall came. Her spiritual power was extremely high, and she used the secret technique of the Red Spider Lily to capture Old Master Yoon. She also left a message saying that she will meet you in front of the Spirit Radiance sect's main gate in half a month, and asks you to exchange his life for your own. Yoon Chujia's head buzzed. She recalled what Yoon Xiaotian had said before, and she felt extremely regretful. She should have let her grandfather and the others enter the Spirit Radiance sect at that time. Even though the secret guards and the Thunder Sex people had high spiritual power, the secret techniques of the Godly Devil Hall were too unpredictable, and it was simply impossible to guard against them. Little Jiao, you don't have to worry too much. Since they used Old Master Yoon to threaten you, they won't do anything to Old Master Yoon for the time being. Di Baiming comforted her. That's right, little sister, little Jiao. There's still me. At most, it'll be struck by a few heavenly lightning bolts. Big brother can handle it. Xue Wuji saw Yoon Chujia's small face filled with self-blame and worry, and his heart ached. Prince Charming, brother Wuji, you don't have to worry about me. Let's return immediately. The Godly Devil Hall? I don't care if it's a god or a devil. If it dares to provoke my family, I'll send them to hell. Yoon Chujia's small face was full of determination. There seemed to be two small flames burning in her eyes. If you dare to touch my grandfather, I will destroy you. After Yoon Chujio woke everyone up, she told them what had happened. Everyone immediately became confused. What? The Bixiao Palace and the Skyblade sect were both conquered? Those are sects with 10,000 years of history. How could they be conquered just like that? The members of the Heavenly Gate sect were especially confused. They could not believe their ears. The entirety of the Heavenly Gate sect had joined the Godly Devil Hall. How was this possible? Even if Dugai couldn't figure it out, weren't there other elders? They just let Dugai do whatever he wanted. Chapter 895. I am little ancestor Yun of the Spirit Radiance sect. Everyone, calm down and listen to me for a moment. Yun Chujo leaped onto a huge rock and shouted at everyone. At that moment, Yun Chujo was someone everyone highly looked up to. Hearing her words, everyone's discussion gradually quieted down, and they all looked towards Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo did not speak immediately. Instead, she released all the demonic beasts in the spirit beast pouch. Then she said with a cold expression, "We once discovered an evil formation of the Godly Devil Hall in Longping Mountain. Its methods were cruel and the scene was so horrific that it made one's hair stand on end. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts were chained to the ground or suspended in the air. Their blood and vitality flowed into the evil formation of the Godly Devil Hall, and that evil formation was used to search for the Eye of the Earth. Now that the Godly Devil Hall had captured the citizens of several cities, it will probably be used for the evil formation again. The Godly Devil Hall's ultimate goal is this: to find the Eye of the Earth and then absorb all the chi in the Eye of the Earth. At that time, our Azure Mystic Continent would then become a secular land without any spiritual chi. At that time, whether it was humans or demon beasts, the path of longevity would be lost. The Godly Devil Hall is not my enemy alone, nor is it just the enemy of the 4 great sections. They are the enemies of the entire Azure Mystic Continent. It was true that the Godly Devil Hall had a mysterious background and even possessed a strange secret technique of the Red Spider Lily. However, I, Yun Chujo, firmly believe in one truth, that evil cannot prevail over good. As long as we are united, we can definitely drive this so-called Godly Devil Hall out of the Azure Mystic Continent or destroy completely it. Everyone, whether it was for our own great path of immortality, or the lives of our relatives, friends, and future generations, we only have one choice now, and that is to unite as one. Regardless of whether we are humans or demonic beasts, regardless of whether we are men, women, or young, we must all contribute our strength to protect our home. Why is there still hot blood flowing in our bodies? Because that is our inextinguishable fighting spirit. Even the ancient enchantment could not hold us, and even the shackles of the Tian Dao could not make us lose our desire to obtain immortality. What else can stop us from protecting our home? Now the Godly Devil Hall forces have already begun moving to make their evil plan come true. We must eliminate them before they completely gain a foothold and return the Azure Mystic Continent to a bright and peaceful state, instead of living under the shadow of death forever. I, Yun Chujo, swear on my life that I will not rest until the Godly Devil Hall is destroyed. If everyone trusts me, then follow me back to the Spirit Radiance sect and destroy the Godly Devil Hall in one fell swoop after meeting up with the survivors. In addition, my other identity has never been announced. I am not the personal disciple of Elder Sun Buozhong of the Spirit Radiance sect. I am the personal disciple of Patriarch Linghua of the Spirit Radiance sect, which is also the first generation of disciples of the Spirit Radiance sect. Xinyuan Chongkong and the others call me Little Ancestor Yun. This is also the reason why my position in the Spirit Radiance sect is so special. It is also the reason why I would rather risk my life to save all of you. It is because I have a responsibility and a mission on my shoulders. Now, I will take this 9th Heaven Silver Dragon Windfire Rod that my master left me and lead all of you back to the Spirit Radiance sect. After everyone and the beasts heard Yun Chuji's words, they immediately felt the blood in their bodies boil. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was to destroy the Godly Devil Hall. They would not let them destroy the Azure Mystic Continent. The disciples of the Spirit Radiance sect knelt on the ground. The disciples of the Spirit Radiance sect greet Little Ancestor Yun. Chapter 896. Submission. These elders of the Spirit Radiance sect actually felt that having such a small ancestor was too embarrassing. At that moment, they were incomparably grateful that they had one in Yun Chujio. Not only had she saved the Spirit Radiance sect from danger several times, but now that the Azure Mystic Continent was in danger, she was the one to step forward. Just as Yun Chujio had said back then, there would come a day when the Spirit Radiance sect would be proud of her. At that moment, not only was she the pride of our Spirit Radiance sect, but she was also the pride of the entire Azure Mystic Continent. The young girl on the tall rock no longer had her usual cheeky personality. Instead, she exuded an awe-inspiring aura. A conviction that she would win, causing people to involuntarily submit to her and trust her. The numerous demon beasts raised their heads and roared, kneeling in front of her to represent their submission. It was true that they were high-level demon beasts, and some of them had even higher spiritual power than Yun Chujio. However, at that moment they were willing to follow this young girl, fighting side by side with the humans to protect their home. Many cultivators were affected by the majestic atmosphere, and could not help but kneel. At that moment in their eyes they had already forgotten about Yun Chujio's age. Saving their lives twice, having a shocking talent for cultivation, unparalleled intelligence, and being the personal disciple of Patriarch Linghua were enough to make up for the lack of age. They were willing to accept the young girl's command, and they were also extremely confident that she would lead them to take back their home. Di Biming stood at the side and looked at the girl who was like the god of war. His heart was filled with tenderness and pride. He had never seen little Jo like this before, but it made him even more moved. It made him willing to protect her. Xue Wuji's heart was also filled with awe. He felt like his heart was about to stop beating. How could he not be moved by such a girl? Secret Agent Hua Hua looked at her young master's infatuation and sighed inwardly. That's right. How could such a woman not move his heart? Her beautiful appearance would fade with time, but this boldness, this calmness, and this sense of responsibility transcended both age and gender. As time passed, the young master would probably be unable to extricate himself, and Feng was also deeply moved. He could only say that his young master had a unique eye. Thinking back to that little black trash back then, who would have thought that in less than 3 years, she would bloom with such brilliance? If the palace mistress saw this scene unfold, would she change her opinion of the ninth miss? Although the ninth miss was still unable to compare with the other young ladies of the Tianyuan continent, she would sooner or later become the most dazzling existence in the Tianyuan continent. No one was more suitable than her to stand beside His Excellency. Yun Chujio looked at the cultivators and demonic beasts kneeling on the ground, and with a firm expression, she said, "Everyone, thank you for your trust in me, Yun Chujio. As long as you give me time, I will definitely give you a bright future. Now those who heard my name stand by my right hand. I have other arrangements for you. The rest of you stand by." Seeing Yun Chujio's calmness and maturity that did not match her age, everyone felt even more confident in their hearts and nodded in agreement. Spirit Radiance Sex Zhou Zhandong Zhaorui Chao Bin Heng. Heavenly Gate Sex Zhongling Bai Mu Yan Gu Feng Chu Yufeng. Skyblade Sex Shiyin Yu Zhanli Situcang Yuling Hao. Bixiao Palaces Shangguan Yu. By Muing Lu Yushuang Zhao Yuping. 7-Star Sword Sex by Chan Luo Wenba. Flying Tiger Villas Yu Hongwen. Yun Chujio read out the names of over 100 people in one breath. Everyone was shocked. How did Yun Chujio know the names of these people? It was fine if she knew those from the Spirit Radiance sect, but a large majority of the names were not. How did she know the names of the others, especially the itinerant cultivators? Chapter 897. A proclamation of battle. The people that Yun Chujio called out were the last batch of cultivators who voluntarily stayed behind with her group. Yun Chujio took note of their names and remembered them after hearing them once. The hundreds of people whose names were called out were ushered to the side by Yun Chujio. After Yun Chujio activated an isolation array, she said to everyone, the reason why I called out your names is firstly because your spiritual power is among the best among the people here. Secondly, after a period of observation, I completely trust your character. Therefore, I am more assured when I will leave the next task to you. Before Yun Chujo mentioned the task, she first put on a high hat for everyone. Everyone immediately felt a sense of honor and pride, and they straightened their backs. 5 of you will form a group. Each group will be responsible for an area. You have 2 missions. The first is to investigate the other strongholds of the Godly Devil Hall. The second is to expose the Godly Devil Hall's evils to the public. I will write a proclamation of battle later, after you post it up everywhere and make the people of the Godly Devil Hall seem like street rats. This way, someone will report their whereabouts the minute they show up. Let them have no place to hide in the Azure Mystic Continent. Don't feel regretful for not participating in the battle with the Godly Devil Hall. What you will do is as important as the battle. If complete these 2 tasks well, you will cut off the Godly Devil Hall's escape route, giving them no chance to make a comeback in the future. Otherwise, even if we defeat them now, they will use secret arts to escape and secretly rebuild their forces. Therefore, the task given to you is very important. You must do your best. Yun Chujia's expression was solemn, and the aura emanating from her body made people shudder in fear. No one dared to raise any objections. Firstly, they were intimidated by Yun Chujia's aura. Secondly, what Yun Chujo said was reasonable. They had to cut off the Godly Devil Hall's escape route. Otherwise, even if they destroyed them now, they would still strike again in the future. Seeing that no one had any objections, Yun Chujo separated them into groups, and then withdrew the isolation array. Yun Chujo took out a pen and paper from her storage ring, and wrote a proclamation of battle. The basic content was similar to what she had said previously. After she finished writing, she saw her own crooked handwriting and felt that she really couldn't bring herself to do it. Hence, she activated the isolation array. Prince Charming, help me copy it in fancier handwriting. The corner of D. Biming's eyes twitched, but he still helped Yun Chujo copy the proclamation. Yun Chujo saw the article that D. Biming wrote and then looked at her own. She decisively destroyed the one that she wrote. The difference was too fucking embarrassing. Yun Chujo shamelessly handed the article that D. Biming wrote to everyone. Here, I just finished writing this. You guys take it and copy it. After everyone took the paper and read it, they praised it again and again. The content was not mentioned for the time being, but the writing was too good. The ink was like a hook, vigorous and powerful. The momentum was magnificent, like a flood dragon coming out of the water. Yun Chujo neither admitted nor denied that it was her handiwork. She just smiled and did not say anything. She thought to herself, there's no difference between me and the pretty boy. What's his is mine and what's mine is his. Therefore, praising me and praising him are all the same. After the arrangements were made, Yun Chujo waved her hands, and everyone split into their respective groups and boarded several flying spirit tools. A portion of them went on missions while the majority of them followed Yun Chujo back to the Spirit Radiance sect. When they were still 3 days away from the Spirit Radiance sect, everyone received another piece of bad news. The Spirit Radiance sect's Grand Array had been broken, and both sides were embroiled in a chaotic battle. Everyone turned pale from fright. The Spirit Radiance sect's Grand Array was the strongest among the 4 great sections. How could it be broken by the Godly Devil Hall? Chapter 898. Traitors. At that moment, a chaotic battle was being fought at the front gates of the Spirit Radiance sect. As most of the elders of the 4 great sects had gone to the Spirit Herb Valley, the majority who remained behind were disciples. Fortunately, the Spirit Cultivator disciples that Yun Chujo had saved a few days ago had already returned to the sect. Otherwise, they would not have been a match for the Godly Devil Hall. On the contrary, the spirit energy of the people from the Godly Devil Hall was much higher. Nearly a third of them were at the level of Spirit Emperor, so their strength was already superior on paper. Xinyuan Chongkong, I advise you to join our Godly Devil Hall if you know what's good for you. If you resist stubbornly, the Spirit Radiance sect will end up like the Bixiao Palace and the Skyblade sect. Du Gai shouted arrogantly. Master Xinyuan sneered. Du Gai, Although I used to have a lot of complaints about you in the past, it's still a competition between sex after all. I thought that you knew how to tell right from wrong. I didn't expect that you were actually a spy from the Godly Devil Hall. No wonder the Godly Devil Hall knows about our every move. So it was you who sold us out. What's right and wrong? Humph! What are we cultivating for? Isn't it for the great Tao of immortality? I'm only at the 6th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. I might not have the chance to reach the peak of the 9th level of the Spirit Emperor realm in my lifetime. However, after taking the medicine given by the Lord, I reached the peak of the 7th level of the Spirit Emperor realm in just a few months. My ascension is just around the corner. Moreover, the Lord has promised us that as long as we find the eye of the earth, we will head to the land of bliss. The spiritual energy there is 100 times denser than here. We will be able to live forever without any effort. Since that's the case, why don't I choose to submit to the Lord? Xinyuan Chongkong. A wise man submits to circumstances. This is your last chance. If you continue to be stubborn, not only will you die, but all your disciples will also die. Your spirit radiance sect will also be razed to the ground. Du Gai said sinisterly. Du Gai, for your own selfish reasons, are you going to just stand by and watch the lives of the people be destroyed? Recently, you've captured several cities' citizens as sacrifices to the evil array. That is inhumane. Inhumane? Heaven and earth are heartless and treat all living things as dogs. What's the difference between humans and demonic beasts? It's their honor to be able to contribute a little to their master. Including you. If you're captured, you'll all become the source of power for the evil array. Ha ha ha. Du Gai laughed sinisterly. His spiritual power level was 1 level higher than Master Xuanyuan's. He was very proud that his victory was imminent. You are simply you have gone mad. Master Xuanyuan's face was livid with anger. He never thought that Du Gai would say such heartless words. Gone mad? You are the one who does not know the situation. Your disciples are much more sensible than you. If it weren't for their help, how would we be able to break through your defensive formation? Ha ha ha. The veins on Master Xuanyuan's forehead bulged. When he recalled how the array had been broken, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Originally, after the members of the Skyblade sect, Bishao Palace, and a portion of the disciples of the Heavenly Gate sect who had escaped entered the Spirit Radiance sect, Master Xianyuan had activated the protective array. It would not be a problem for him to keep it up for a while. He never expected that the Bai siblings and Yun Chushan would take the opportunity to inspect the array core and tamper with the array disk. Moreover, Elder Chu, who was the best at array formations in the Spirit Radiance sect, was not around. Thus, no one noticed the flaw. When the array was broken, the two sides started fighting. Only then did they realize that they were the ones who had tampered with it. No wonder the three of them had a rapid increase in their spiritual power. It was from consuming the Godly Devil Hall's medicinal pills. Chapter 899. Qingxi to the rescue. Du Gai and Master Xianyuan were engaged in a pitched battle. On the other end, the Bai siblings and Yun Chushan were seen chasing after the Yun siblings. Bai Mayu was currently at the 9th level of the Spiritual Emperor realm. Bai Moru and Yun Chushan were both at the 8th level of the Spiritual Master realm, while the Yun siblings were only at the 5th level of the Spiritual Master realm. As a result, they were both defeated very quickly. Yun Chushan, you actually betrayed the Spirit Radiance sect. You are not worthy to be a member of the Yun family. Our Yun family does not have scum like you. You are an honorless dog. Yun Chuki cursed angrily. Yun Chushan had a face full of ridicule. A person goes where the grass is greener. What's wrong with what I'm doing? It's you guys who let me down. What's so great about Yun Chujiu? Whether it's the family head, you guys, or those idiots from the Spirit Radiance sect, they all treat her like a living treasure. I'll show you all who has the last laugh. Since you all look down on our second branch, I'll let you all die. From now on, the Yun family will belong to my grandfather. Yun Chushan, don't you feel guilty saying that? As the family head, what did my grandfather ever do to your branch? Whether it's the distribution of money or the exchanging of favors, what has he ever done to you? If he looked down on you, would he let you come with us to the Spirit Radiance sect? Moreover, search your conscience. At what time didn't you find trouble with little Gio? Has little Gio ever been calculative with you? With little Gio's ability, it would be easy for her to kill you. I didn't expect her to care so much about family ties, but you turned out to be more of an ingrate. Yun Chu was so angry that her entire body trembled. The feeling of being betrayed by her family was really hard to accept. In the past, she only thought that she was petty and selfish, but she did not expect her to be so inhumane. Bai Mayu and Bai Moru looked at the internal strife in the Yun family, and their faces revealed a mocking expression. Although they no longer looked at the little power in Yi City, they were still very happy to see the Yun families fall from grace. They would first kill the ones here. After that, they would kill that old bastard Yun Xiaotian. Then the Yun family would be completely wiped out. As for Yun Chujio, she would die sooner or later. Senior sister Bai, stop talking nonsense with them. Let's kill them. Bai Moru took the lead and attacked Yun Chu. This bitch is getting more and more outstanding as she grows up. I have long wanted to make her lose face. Although the Yun siblings had the advantage in numbers, the difference in spiritual power was too great. They were no match for the Bai siblings in Yun Chushan. Very soon they were easily defeated and on the brink of death. Seeing this, Feng Ming and the other two wanted to come over to help. However, they were tied down by their own opponents and had no way to escape. At that moment, Qingxi jumped over and attacked Bai Moyu. Bai Moyu snorted coldly. You're only at the 5th level of the spirit cultivator realm. You overestimate yourself. Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant you your wish. What Bai Moyu never expected was that Qingxi actually took out a talisman. After activating it, a wave of thick smoke rose into the air. While everyone's vision was affected, Qingxi took advantage of that opening and saved the Yun siblings with Feng Ming. We're insignificant to the battle here. Let's go find little Gio. Only she can turn the tide. Qingxi changed her from her previous taciturn tone and said firmly. Then, she summoned a jet black flying spirit tool and beckoned everyone up. The Yun siblings and Feng Ming were very surprised. Usually, they did not see Qingxi reveal herself. They did not expect that not only did she have a flying spirit tool, but a very high-end one too at that. It must be very valuable. Chapter 900. Qingxi's unique flying spirit tool. Although Feng Ming and the others were surprised, they knew that this was not the time to ask questions. Qingxi was right. Finding little Gio was the key now. They did not know if little Gio had managed to save the cultivators from the East Valley. If she had saved them all, then it would be enough to fight the Godly Devil Hall. Because the Spirit Radiance sect was surrounded by the people from the Godly Devil Hall, De-Biming's secret guards could not get close. Moreover, they had to protect the remaining people from the Yun residents, so they did not dare to show themselves rashly. Therefore, the people from the Spirit Radiance sect did not know that Yun Chuzhou was already on the way back. Qingxi and the others got on their flying spirit tools and flew in the direction of the Elixir Valley. At that moment, the thick smoke had dispersed. The Bai siblings and Yun Chushan immediately discovered that the Yun siblings had fled on their flying spirit tools. A woman wearing a purple mask walked up to them and shouted angrily, "Trash! Why aren't you bringing you going after them?" "Yes, Cousin Yanren, Lord Purple Mask." Bai Moyu had just finished speaking when he changed his words under the woman's cold gaze. Under the pressure, cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Su Yanran waved her hand, and a gold-masked man walked over. "Fanzhen, bring a few people and the three of them to capture the people on the flying spirit tool. If that doesn't work, bring back their corpses. Those people are people that bitch Yun Chuzhou cares about. I want her to watch them die for her." "Yes, Lord." Fanzhen summoned his flying spirit tool and led 5 silver-masked men, Bai Mayu, and the others to board the flying spirit tool and quickly chased after Qingxi and the others. Fanzhan's flying spirit tool was also a high-end one. In addition to his superb spiritual power, he soon caught up with the flying spirit tools Qingxi and the others were on. Fanzhan's lips curled into a sneer. Attack them from the porthole and try to force them to land, then capture them alive. That bitch Yun Chuzhou made me suffer last time. When I catch these people, I will kill them in front of that bitch. The 5 silver-masked men and Bai Mayu attacked the flying spirit tool in front of them from the porthole. What they did not expect was that the flying spirit tool not only had a protective array but also a high-level one, so the attack did not destroy it. Fanzhan frowned. Keep attacking. Sooner or later, its protective array will be broken. Suddenly, several wind blades shot out from the tail of the flying spirit tool in front of him, heading straight for Fanzhan's flying spirit tool. Fanzhan did not expect that there would be a flying spirit tool with the ability to attack in this low-level world. In a moment of carelessness, his flying spirit tool was hit by the wind blades. The flying spirit tool trembled a few times. Although it was not seriously damaged, it still slowed down. The flying spirit tool in front of them instantly pulled away from the commotion. Interesting. Looks like we're going to catch an unexpected big fish. Continue attacking but keep them alive, especially that little girl with the flying spirit tool. Fanzhan's eyes revealed a look of greed. That little girl was no simpleton. Perhaps she would be able to get an unexpected surprise. The distance between the 2 flying spirit tools changed constantly. Whenever they were about to catch up, Qingxi would have her flying spirit tool attack. That way they would once again pull away and gain some distance. However, after a day, Qingxi frowned and said, "My flying spirit tool won't be able to last much longer. We can either find a place to land or switch to another flying spirit tool." Chapter 901. Shixian's feelings. Junior sister Qingxi, the 3 of us have flying spirit tools. Although they are not as high-end as yours, it's better than nothing. You attack them while we find a place to land. Then we'll switch to my flying spirit tool, Fengming said. Okay. Qingxi took the opportunity and attacked Fanzhan's flying spirit tool with several wind blades. Then she flew for some distance and found a large clearing. After that, Qingxi landed the flying spirit tool on the ground. Before Fengming could call out his flying spirit tool, Fanzhan and the others arrived. It turned out that after they saw right through Qingxi's intention, they rode on their swords and chased after her. Humph! I advise you not to struggle while on your last legs. Our strength is far greater than yours. Don't worry, I won't take your lives for the time being. Why don't you obediently surrender? Fanzhan said arrogantly. Bah! In your dreams. You ugly freak who has no face to see others. Yun Chuki's venomous tongue was not that much weaker than Yun Chuji's. You're courting death. Fanzhan thrust a palm at Yun Chuki. Yun Chuki's injuries were already extensive, so she was in no position to dodge. She could only close her eyes and await her death. She never imagined that she would be pushed away by someone. Then she heard a muffled groan. Yun Chuki opened her eyes and saw that it was Shixian who had blocked the palm strike for her. He was sent flying over 100 feet away and spat out a mouthful of blood. Senior brother Shixian. Yun Chuki never expected that Shixian would actually block the palm strike for her. She staggered over and hurriedly stuffed the heaven-grade blood coagulation pill that Yun Chuzhou had given her into Shixian's mouth. Shixian's life hung by a thread. Thanks to the heaven-grade blood coagulation pill, he was able to keep his life. However, his injuries were still severe. Senior brother Shixian, why did you take the palm strike for me? Are you stupid? Yun Chuki did not cry, but her eyes were red. Shixian did not speak. He only smiled at Yun Chuki, but his hand held Yun Chuki's. If Yun Chuki still did not understand Shixian's intentions, she would have been truly dumbfounded. Her heart was filled with a bittersweet feeling. If it were not for this moment, she would have been bashful and happy. However, they were about to be sent to the underworld together despite not yet having the chance to express their true feelings. At that moment, Feng Ming and the others had already engaged in battle with Fanjun and the others. Yun Chuki stuffed a few pills into Shixian's hands and the two of them gritted their teeth and joined the battle. The difference in strength between the two sides was huge. Very soon, Qing Si and the others were all knocked to the ground. This was because Fanjun wanted to capture them alive. Otherwise, they would have died long ago. Looking at the people lying on the ground that no longer had the strength to fight back, Baimoru walked in front of Yun Chu and gave her a few tight slaps. Bitch! You used this vixen's face to seduce my admirer. How shameless! I'll mutilate your face right now. Let's see what else you can use to seduce people. Fanjun knew about Baimoru and Su Yanren's relationship, so he turned a blind eye. As long as they did not kill her, it was fine as long as she was only toying with them. Baimoru took out a dagger and sneered as she slashed at Yun Chua's face. After thinking for a moment, she put the dagger away. It's a waste to just cut them up like that. These 3 bitches are your reward. You guys go play with them in the forest first. When you're done, it'll destroy their faces. The silver-masked men immediately revealed lewd smiles. They had been besieging the Spirit Radiant sect for the past few days and did not have any time for play. These 3 girls were each more beautiful than the other, and they were all virgins. Things could not turn out better for them. Chapter 902. Courting death. Yun Chuzi and the others wanted to go forward to stop them, but unfortunately, they were all heavily injured and were no match for the 5 silver-masked men. They were kicked to the ground, and Yun Chu and the other 2 were dragged by the silver-masked men into the small forest nearby. Yazi, Shixian, and the others' eyes were bloodshot, but there was no way to stop them. Yun Chu-shan, if you have any conscience at all, give us a quick death. Otherwise, I will not let you off even if I become a ghost. Yun Chu shouted at the top of her lungs. Yun Chu-shan snorted coldly. You brought this on yourselves. What does it have to do with me? You should just enjoy it wholeheartedly. Maybe if you serve the silver-masked lord well, you can still keep your life. 5th sister, her heart is utterly black. What's the point of begging her? I'll leave first, we'll still be sisters in the next life. Yun Chuki was about to bite her tongue and commit suicide. You want to die? You can die after I'm done with you. I don't want to play with dead wood. The silver-masked man pinned down Yun Chuki. She couldn't even speak, let alone bite her tongue and commit suicide. The other 2 silver-masked men also pinned down Yun Chu and Qing Si, as they dragged them into the forest with lewd smiles. Yun Chuzi and the others struggled to get up to stop them, but they were once again kicked to the ground by Baimoyu and the others. Baimoyu smiled sinisterly and said, Yun Chuzi, hasn't your Yun family always been against our Bai family? Do you think that you can turn the tables with Yun Chujo? That's just a delusion. Your Yun family will soon cease to exist, and our Bai family will be going to the land of bliss with our master, ha ha ha. Baimoyu, little Joe won't let you off. Little Joe will avenge us. Yun Chuzi once again resented his own incompetence. Seeing that his sister was about to be trampled on by beasts, he was helpless. Baimoyu laughed wildly. Yun Chujo? Humph. She has repeatedly ruined our master's plans. Do you think she can survive? However, before she dies, Yanren's sister will definitely take good care of her. Yun Chu and the others are suffering the same treatment as Yun Chujo in the future. When that time comes, she will be begging for death. Just as Baimoyu was spouting nonsense, he heard someone in the air say, Kill them all. Leave none alive. Baimoyu looked up and saw several flying spirit tools hovering in the air. There were hundreds of high-level cultivators riding their swords arriving. The one in front was a beautiful girl with a cold murderous aura that made people tremble in fear. Baimoyu didn't recognize the girl for a moment. Baimoru, who was next to him, shouted, Yun Chujo? Impossible. How did that bitch Yun Chujo become so beautiful? Fanjin thought to himself, what an idiot. At that time he actually had the heart to care about looks. With so many people here, they were probably all cultivators trapped in the East Valley. It was better for him to leave while he could, or else he would not make it out alive. When Fanjin thought of this, he bit his index finger, and was about to use the red spider lily secret art to escape. He never expected that Yun Chuzi and the others, who were already unable to fight back, would suddenly regain their strength when they saw Yun Chujo coming. The few of them jumped forward desperately and grabbed onto Fanjin's legs. Fanjin's secret art was suddenly interrupted, and in a rage threw a wind blade toward Yun Chuzi and the others behind him. An ice dragon blocked Fanjin's spiritual power attack, then swung its tail and slapped Fanjin several feet away. Fanjin stood firm and wanted to use the secret art again, but there was no chance. Debeiming and Xue Wuji's spiritual power attacks hit him like a storm, not giving him any chance to breathe. How could he even retaliate? After a few moments he was imprisoned. Xue Wuji took out the poison from Fanjin's mouth, then took out his sword and cut the tendons on both his hands and feet. He smiled evilly. Let's see how you use the so-called secret technique this time. You dare to touch my little sister's family? You're done for this time. Chapter 903. Su Yanran's Secret. At that moment, Bai Mayu and the other two, as well as the 5 silver-masked men, had all been taken down. Yun Chujo first took out a pill to save Yun Chuzi and the others. Seeing that their lives were not in serious danger, she was relieved. If they were a moment too late, the consequences would be unimaginable. It seemed that she had to think of a way to improve their constitutions. Otherwise, even if they cultivated diligently, there was a limit to what they could achieve. 5th sister, 7th sister and Qing Si, I'll leave these people to you to deal with. You can do whatever you want with them. Don't worry with us here. They won't be able to escape even if they have wings. Yun Chujo curled the corners of her lips and said, Yun Chujo, you can't kill us. If you kill us, Yun Xiaotian will be as well. Bai Mora shouted, Grandfather, of course I'll save him. You? You're just a few lackeys. You don't have the right to negotiate with me. Cousin Yanran is the highest level purple-masked emissary in the Godly Devil Hall. If you kill us, she won't let you off. Su Yanran? Oh, no wonder. I was wondering who had such a great enmity towards me and wanted to kill me time and time again. So it was her. Bai Moru, do you think Su Yanran would take you seriously? Your value was gone the moment the Spirit Radiance Sect's grand array was broken. 5th sister, do it. Yun Chu slapped Bai Moru several times. Bai Moru, as a woman, I would never have used those despicable methods on you. Accept your death. Yun Chu raised her sword and slashed downwards at Bai Moru. Seeing this, Bai Mayu begged loudly, Little Jiu, for the sake of our past friendship, please spare me. I'll tell you everything I know. When Debeiming heard the words past friendship, the chill on his body suddenly intensified, and Feng, who was beside him, shivered. He thought to himself, this Bai Mayu had just dug his grave. If you had not mentioned that sentence, perhaps you would have died a slower death. If you mentioned it, if you do not say anything about Miss Jiu, our esteemed lord will smack you to death. Past friendship? White scum, how can you be so thick-skinned? Ask yourself, have you ever shown me any kindness? Besides, what could you possibly know? Su Yanran is just another person you treated as a chess piece. How would you know anything else? No. I know something. I know Cousin Yanran's big secret. As long as you swear if I tell you, you will let me go, and I'll tell you what it is. Bai Mayu saw that the silver-masked men were killed by Yun Chuzi and the others, and he was scared to death. Oh, a big secret? I am somewhat interested. Okay, I swear if you tell me this secret I will let you go. If I don't let you go, I will hit you with 5 lightning bolts from the sky. Yun Chujo said indifferently. Bai Mayu had never seen Yun Chuji's abnormal situation, where she was not afraid of being struck by lightning. In the eyes of cultivators, oaths were very solemn and effective, so he believed it to be true. Therefore, he said, Cousin Yanran is not my aunt's biological flesh and blood. My aunt's biological daughter was stillborn. Coincidentally, a baby girl appeared in the bedroom. My aunt felt that this was heaven's compensation to her. So she did not investigate cousin Yanran's background and directly raised her as her biological daughter. Yun Chujio touched her chin. Oh, this was interesting. She did not expect Su Yanran's background to be so complicated. However, it was also true. If she was just an ordinary girl, how could she gain the appreciation of the master and become the purple-masked emissary? Chapter 904. The soul-searching technique. Go on. I'm not too sure about what happened after that. 3 years ago, it seemed that the master sent someone to find cousin Yanran. Then cousin Yanran entered the Heavenly Gates sect, and her powers suddenly grew. She regularly gave me some pills that would increase my spiritual power, asking me to recruit several accomplices. A few days ago, when we were patrolling the array core, we acted according to cousin Yanran's instructions and tampered with the array disk. The next day, the Spirit Radiance sect's protective array was broken. I've told you everything I know. Let me go. Bai Moyu thought to himself. As long as I can escape sooner or later, ill this slut and take revenge. Let you go? In your dreams. Yun Chujio took out a large kitchen knife and pointed it at Bai Moyu's neck. Yun Chujio, you can't kill me. Aren't you afraid of breaking your oath and being struck by lightning? You'll be struck to death by lightning. Bai Moyu shouted at the top of his voice. The onlookers burst into laughter. This idiot. Little ancestor Yun struck to death by lightning? It was more like the lightning would be angered to death by her. I'm sorry, Bai Moyu. The thing I'm least afraid of is lightning. Do you know why there's always the sound of lightning at the back of the mountain? It's from them striking me repeatedly. That's why I eagerly welcome lightning strikes, you idiot. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Bai Moyu said in fear, impossible, impossible. No one is unafraid of lightning. You must be lying to me. Quickly let me go or else you will suffer. Bai Moyu's words came to an abrupt end. Yun Chujio's large kitchen knife gently brushed past his neck, and Bai Moyu fell to the ground with a thud. Seeing that the Bai siblings had been killed, Yun Chushan cried bitterly and said, Little Jiu, I was wrong. Third sister was wrong. Please spare me. For the sake of our many years of friendship as sisters, please spare me. I will change my ways and become a new person. Fifth sister, seventh sister, Qing Si. Do you think we should spare her? Yun Chujio looked at Yun Chushan, who was crying bitterly, with a hint of mockery. Spare her? When we were about to be raped, she refused to kill us even when we begged her. Why should we listen to what she says? She is no longer a member of our Yun family. It's not enough for such an ingrate to die 10,000 times. Little Jiu, if you can't do it, I will. Yun Chuki said through gritted teeth. When Yun Chushan saw that there was no chance of survival, her expression became ferocious. Don't be complacent. Even if I die, you won't be able to win. The godly devil hall is not something you can contend with. Sooner or later, all of you will go to hell. The Lord will not forgive you. Yun Chushan, you don't have to worry about us. That dogshit Lord will accompany you sooner or later. Die. Yun Chujio flipped her hand with her kitchen knife and Yun Chushan fell to the ground bleeding. Yun Chujio looked at Fanjin and then said to Di Baiming, Prince Charming, do you know how to use the soul-searching technique? With such a stubborn person, we won't be able to get anything out of him even if we interrogate him. We might as well just use the soul-searching technique. When Fanjin heard that the soul-searching technique was going to be used on him, his face immediately turned ashen. Once he used the soul-searching technique, he would turn into a vegetable. Then what was the point of living? However, he could not move at all except for his eyes. There was nothing he could do even if he wanted to resist. He could only watch helplessly as Di Baiming placed his hand on Fanjin's Baihui acupoint. After 15 minutes, Di Baiming's hand left Fanjin's Baihui acupoint. Fanjin's eyes instantly became unfocused. It was obvious that he had become brain dead. Chapter 905. Subduing some demonic beasts. Prince Charming, how is it? Is there any useful information? Yun Chujio asked anxiously. The useful information is limited. Su Yenran was the one who passed all the instructions to him. He was only in charge of implementing them. He had never met the master before, and was only in charge of the area in the Endless Sea. After the silver-masked man died the last time, he was transferred here as a replacement, Di Biming said with a frown. He had thought that they had caught a big fish, but he did not expect that it was just a lackey. The godly devil hall was really careful in covering up their tracks. Is there any news about grandfather and the kidnapped commoners? Senior Yun has been escorted by Su Yenran all this time. Right now, he is outside the Spirit Radiance Sect's mountain gate guarded by more than 10 golden-masked men. Those commoners are trapped in the mountain behind the Heavenly Gate sect being used as a blood source to support the evil formation. Yun Chujo thought for a moment and said, if that's the case, we will split into 2 groups. Everyone from the Heavenly Gate sect, you will lead a portion of your people to kill your way back to the Heavenly Gate sect. Right now, the Heavenly Gate sect is relatively empty, and those disciples may not have truly submitted to the godly devil hall. They may have been coerced by Du Gai and Su Yenran. You should try to reason with them and think of a way to turn those disciples against them and save those commoners. I'll bring the remaining people to the Spirit Radiance sect. Everyone nodded in agreement and split into 2 groups. One group headed to the Heavenly Gate sect while the other group headed to the Spirit Radiance sect. When Yun Chujo passed by the demonic beast forest, she thought for a moment and decided that it would be best to bring along some help just in case. Thus, she used her spiritual sense to speak to the strange grass, summon those high-level demonic beasts for me. I'm going to make use of them. The strange grass obediently did as she was told. The leaves curled up and emitted a scent that made the demonic beasts drool. Everyone, you guys go ahead first. I will go down and subdue some more demonic beasts. Yun Chujo shouted to the crowd through the porthole. Those people were dumbfounded. What did she mean by subjugating some more demonic beasts? Those demonic beasts from the Elixir Valley had followed us to attack the godly devil hall, because you had saved their lives. However, the demonic beasts in the demonic beast forest were wild and hard to tame. They had no interaction with you, so why would they listen to you? Moreover, the demon beast forest was vast. How would you find those high-level demon beasts? Even if you found 8 or 10 of them, what use would that be? However, since they had already made Yun Chujo the commander, they could only do as they were told and continue to rush to the Spirit Radiance sect at full speed. A day later, they arrived in the sky above the Spirit Radiance sect. The ground was full of dead bodies. The Spirit Radiance sect's main gate had already been broken through. Elder Shao and the others' hearts tightened. Could it be that Master Xianyuan and the others were all dead? At that moment, someone noticed that the Spirit Radiance sect was shrouded in light and seemed to be engaged in an intense battle. Elder Shao looked over and saw that it was in the direction of the Southern Jade Square. Everyone hurriedly flew in the direction of the Southern Jade Square. When they got close, Elder Shao's heart relaxed. He saw that the entire Southern Jade Square was enveloped in a layer of light, and the people from the Spirit Radiance sect inside had set up the hexagonal starlight array. Elder Shao was a bit puzzled. Although the hexagonal starlight array was a relatively powerful defensive array, it was not enough to withstand such a large-scale spiritual power attack from the godly devil hall. What was going on? Before they had time to think, everyone flew down from the flying spirit tool. You scoundrels, you were working with the enemy. Today is the day you die. Su Yenran did not show any signs of panic when she saw everyone arrive. She said indifferently, "Where's Yun Chujo?" Su Yenran, you're the last one who can ask about little ancestor Yun's whereabouts. Die. Elder Chu saw that the Spirit Radiance sect was almost in ruins. Yaz's eyes were filled with anger as he slapped his palm toward Su Yenran. Chapter 906. Ancestral Master Linghua's 3 predictions. Little Ancestral Master Yun, the people of your Spirit Radiance sect are despicable. How dare you acknowledge trash as your little ancestral master? You came at the right time. It's just the right time to capture all of you in one fell swoop. Kill them. Leave no one alive. Su Yenran sidestepped Elder Chu's attack. She suddenly slammed her palm towards Elder Chu's front heart. Elder Chu was shocked. How could Su Yanran's spiritual power be so high? It looked like she had already reached the 9th level of the spiritual sovereign realm, and was only a step away from ascension. Elder Chu was not a pedantic person. Seeing that he was no match for her, he hurriedly shouted, "Everyone, let's attack together. I can't deal with this Su Yanran alone." 5 more Spirit Radiance sect elders came over and surrounded Su Yanran. Su Yanran curled her lips in disdain and waved her hands. She fought everyone and gradually gained the upper hand. As Yun Chuzhou had divided the people into 3 groups, they still had far fewer forces than the people of the Godly Devil Hall, and they gradually fell into a disadvantage. Seeing this, Master Xinyuan deactivated the hexagonal starlight array. The people inside also rushed out to help Elder Chu, and the others fight against the people of the Godly Devil Hall. Even so, they were still not a match for the Godly Devil Hall. They gradually fell into a disadvantageous position, and the number of casualties increased. Su Yanran's eyes revealed a proud expression. "You are already at the end of your rope. Those who know how to adapt to the situation are wise men. As long as you immediately abandon your allies and help us find the Eye of the Earth, I will spare you." "Pooey! Shameless scum! Help you find the Eye of the Earth and let you destroy the Azure Mystic Continent? In your dreams. Su Yanran, don't be overconfident. When little Joe gets here, I will take your life." Elder Chu scolded loudly. Su Yanran laughed coldly. "Yun Chuzhou? I can't wait for her to get here quickly so that I can humiliate her properly. She's constantly ruining my plans. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have taken action so early. All of you suffered because of her. Today all of you will die." As Su Yanran said this, she became more and more aggressive. Elder Chu and the others gradually lost, and wounds started piling up on their bodies. The rest of them were also forced back by the people of the Godly Devil Hall. Du Gai's sword stabbed into the left shoulder of Master Xinyuan. He laughed wildly. "Xinyuan Chongkong, why else are you hiding? You shrewd old man, I didn't expect that your Spirit Radiance sect had so many secrets. Unfortunately, it's useless. Today is the day you die." Master Xinyuan was extremely anxious. Those people in the square were the backbone of the Azure Mystic Continent. If they died, the Azure Mystic Continent would fall into the hands of the Godly Devil Hall. No, that would not be the case. There was still little Gio. The first prediction was that whoever could find the spirit weapon hidden underground would be his true disciple. The second prediction was that once the Spirit Radiance sect was destroyed, they could activate the protective array in the southern Jade Square. The third prediction was that his true disciple would be able to save the Spirit Radiance sect from the fire and water. The first 2 rules had already come true, so the last one would as well. The moment Master Xinyuan was distracted, Du Gai found a flaw and stabbed his left leg. Master Xinyuan screamed and fell to the ground. Du Gai revealed a fierce smile. He raised his sword and stabbed at Master Xinyuan. "Old man, die. Stop. Du Gai, you bastard. Stop right now." As he spoke, a fat old man rushed over from afar. Chapter 907. Sun Boizhong comes out of closed-door cultivation. Du Gai was stunned. He raised his head to look at the fat old man. At this moment, the fat old man had already rushed up to him. "Sectmaster, are you all right? What on earth is going on? How did I emerge from closed-door cultivation for 3 years to see things turn out like this?" "Elder Sun? Sai. It's a long story. In short, these people are all from the Godly Devil Hall. Du Gai has already joined those villains. Now, he wants to help the Godly Devil Hall destroy the Azure Mystic Continent." Master Xinyuan explained the current situation in a few sentences. Taking advantage of the lull in fighting, he took out a medicinal pill to treat his injuries and swallowed it. The person who came was Yun Chujia's nominal master, Elder Sun Boizhong, who had been in seclusion for 3 years. At that moment, he was already at the peak of the 7th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. If it wasn't for the fact that the protective array of the Spirit Radiance sect was broken, he wouldn't have been alarmed and would have spent another 2 years away before ending his seclusion. Du Gai saw that Elder Sun's level of spirit energy was the same as his, and a trace of fear appeared in his heart. This Sun Buozhong did not hold back when he fought. I might not be able to beat him. Elder Sun had always been a person who was easily angered. When he heard Master Xinyuan say this, he immediately exploded. He raised his large saber and slashed at Du Gai. You old man, you turned your back on others. You're fucking courting death. Du Gai did not dare to take it head-on. He jumped to the side and dodged Elder Sun's large saber. He raised his hand and several wind blades flew straight at Elder Sun. Elder Sun did not dodge at all. He slashed his saber and those wind blades instantly disappeared into the air. Du Gai's grew even more fearful, this old fart. Although he was of the same level as me, my spiritual power had artificially increased after eating some pills. Naturally, I haven't gotten used to my increased spiritual power yet compared to one that cultivated naturally like him. A wise man would know he was at a disadvantage against such opponents. He shouted to the side, "Come quickly, help me deal with this old man." Hearing Du Gai's shout, 3 gold-faced emissaries immediately jumped over. They were all at the 7th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. The 4 of them surrounded Elder Sun and started to fight him. An hour later, Elder Sun could not hold on any longer. Although his spirit energy was solid, it was more than enough to deal with one opponent at Du Gai's level. Dealing with 2 was also still manageable, but 4 of them at once was too much. Master Xianyuan was already entangled by 2 golden-masked men. He could not even take care of himself, let alone try to help Sun Buozhong. Du Gai laughed wildly. Sun Buozhong, you are so arrogant. Not so arrogant now, are you? You can only blame yourself for not being born at the right time. Originally, you could be considered a formidable figure, but now that you have met our godly devil hall, you will die today. Elder Sun's temper was explosive, and he did not lose out when losing. Du Gai, you old bastard. Your grandfather died a good man, unlike you, a disgraceful grandson. For some personal benefits, you even abandoned your ancestor. Du Gai's face was livid with anger. Kill him. Kill this old bastard for me. The 4 of them intensified their attacks. Elder Sun's clothes were gradually dyed red with blood, and his eyes were bloodshot. He still swung his saber fiercely like a tiger, a spitting image of a god of war. Du Gai felt a sense of fear in his heart. This Sun Buozhong was not human. He was injured so badly, yet he could still hold on for such a long time. He had to kill him today. Otherwise, he would definitely become troublesome in the future. Everyone put in more effort. This old man is already at the end of his ropes. If we kill him now, the rest of these people are nothing to be afraid of. The 4 of them stepped up their attacks again. Elder Sun finally could not resist. He was stabbed in the abdomen by Du Gai, and his right leg was stabbed by another person. He used his saber to support his body, which was why he did not fall. Du Gai, even if I die, I will drag you all along with me. None of you will survive. Elder Sun roared angrily. Not good. He is going to self-destruct. Quickly dodge. Du Gai shouted in fear. Chapter 908. Little Buozhong, stop. Elder Sun threw his head back and laughed. Du Gai, you can't hide. Today I will drag you down with me. Elder Sun used all his strength to leap forward. Just as he was about to self-destruct his dantian, a burst of clear laughter rang out in the air. Little Uncle Zhong, your life is so precious. How can you waste it on these scumbags? Watch as I avenge you. Little ancestor? Elder Sun was instantly dumbfounded. Fuck. No one had called him that for hundreds of years, right? Who had the guts to call him that? The other people in the southern Jade Square also heard the voices in the air. They looked up and immediately burst into cheers. Little Ancestor Yun is here. The time of death for the godly devil hall has come. Little Ancestor Yun, kill these shameless scum. Elder Sun was dumbfounded when he saw a beautiful girl riding a sword from the sky. He was puzzled. Little Ancestor Yun? Where did Little Ancestor Yun come from? Moreover, these people called her little ancestor Yun regardless of their sect. Could it be that this was her name? Why did she come up with such a weird name? After Yun Chujo landed on the ground, she glared fiercely at Elder Sunday. Trash dim sum. Can't you tell the good from the bad? Why are you trying to self-destruct like it's no big deal? Get lost. Elder Sun was dumbfounded. If not for his serious injuries, he would have wanted to slap this little girl to death. Who were you? How dare you lecture him in such a tone? How rude. At that moment, everyone stopped their attacks and gathered around Yun Chujio. For some reason, when they saw Yun Chujio, they felt confident and felt that there was no difficulty that they could not defeat despite their precarious situation. Yun Chujio ignored Elder Sun and glanced at the situation in front of her. Then she curled her lips and said, "The Godly Devil Hall is really well known. Let me see, isn't it just a nest of wild cats and beasts? If you want me to say, don't call it the Godly Devil Hall, just call it the Hall of Beasts." Ha ha ha. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, everyone burst into a burst of mocking laughter. When they saw this little girl, their hearts instantly calmed down. Du Gai said sinisterly, "Stinky girl, you've ruined the affairs of our Godly Devil Hall time and time again. Prepare to die." Du Gai saw that Yun Chujio was only at the first level of the Spirit Emperor realm. Although he heard that this little girl was a little strange, he did not take it seriously. He raised his sword and stabbed toward her. He also had the intention to contribute to the cause. If he could capture or kill Yun Chujio, it would be a huge win for them. Su Yenran stood at the side and did not stop him. She also wanted to assess Yun Chujio's current strength.